Welcome to H.Y.S.T. I'm Bradley Hackworth, joined by Jonathan Ems, writer, author, just released about 2 months ago the fourth book in the installment of the Outside World series. And this week began work on the production of the audiobook on that one.
Oh, well, the audiobook on the first book.
Yeah, well, the series, excuse me.
Right, yes, that's correct.
You said that you had a statement that you wanted to get to. Why don't we go ahead and get to it?
I feel like because I'm the one who assigned us eXistenZ, I feel like I need to say something about why I chose that movie. I was briefly reminded of his existence. So, eXistenZ at its core is a techno-panic story. Techno-panic is nothing new. It's like arguments could be made that the first ever science fiction ever written was techno-panic. And the idea behind techno-panic is it's not just a science fiction story. It is a story about here's this new technological concept, and here's all the terrible, terrible things that could happen to our society because of it. 99% of the time, they are wrong, and I find that funny. And when I was reminded of the existence of eXistenZ, I thought it would be fun to revisit a techno-panic of the 90s. I had completely forgotten that this was a David Cronenberg movie. I don't know how, but I completely forgot just how disgusting this movie was. Mm-hmm. I must have immediately after seeing this movie gone to the bathroom and lobotomized myself to get it out because I can't think of why I could have possibly blocked out just how gross this movie was.
It was pretty nasty.
So that's why I wanted to say, started the show, Brad, I owe you an apology for making you watch this movie. I assume I must owe an apology to Kelly as well. And, of course, to all of the audience out there who may or may not have decided to go watch this movie because of this. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. My only excuse is that apparently some sort of self-defense mechanism kicked in and all those memories were just deleted without giving me the proper context. And I'm sorry. But that said, if you can stomach it, this movie ain't bad.
No. This movie is, it is very much Cronenberg. It just is.
Yeah.
But it's also Cronenberg meets The Matrix plus Inception.
Yeah, really. It really is. And you can tell, it was also written by Cronenberg, and once you get through it, you can tell this is a dude who loves his video games. This is a dude who knows what he's talking about when he's talking about video games. Oh, you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I'm a little flabbergasted at how perfectly he nailed how the NPCs were going to go in the next era that we were just getting into. Right, NPCs, yeah. An NPC is a non-player character for anybody who doesn't know. And when you're playing a game, if you just stand there, eventually they'll check their watch, they'll look around, they'll do all this stuff, and then they'll go back into the initial action to further the storyline. This movie did this. They did that in a pretty good. Yeah. I had a question about just one, but we will get to that. However,
probably the same one that I was thinking of.
Before we go anywhere, this movie is disgusting. This movie belongs in a weird section of the dark web. There
were moments of this movie I physically gagged and had to look away from the screen. Yeah, just full on.
I'm gonna sip my tea on that one. Mm-hmm.
We probably should just go ahead up front and say that we should just go ahead and spoil the ending and warn everyone we're going to spoil the ending, because the whole first half of this movie, you and I are not going to be able to talk seriously about without giving away the ending, because most of what's going on in this movie...
this is a spoiler show.
Yeah. Most of what's going on in this movie, you're like, what the fuck is even going on? And it isn't until the ending you're just like, oh, now that what seemed like stupid shit before actually now makes sense, especially Jennifer Jason Leigh's character. Her character is so fucking bizarre around this movie until you get to the end and you're like, oh, now I get it. So
Yeah. One thing about Jennifer Jason Leigh and this movie, she turned down doing reshoots for Eyes Wide Shut to do this movie, and she got recast out of Eyes Wide Shut.
good call. Good call. Yeah.
I would have chosen Eyes Wide Shut as a career move over
She
eXistenZ.
Maybe that's true, but I have heard. I didn't know that it was for this movie, but I had heard that she was called in for reshoots and had turned them down because she was shooting another movie. I didn't know it was eXistenZ, but I also know she was like the third actor in Eyes Wide Shut to do that. That got recast for almost the exact same reason, because everybody had it up to fucking here with Stanley Kubrick's bullshit. So you know, it gives me a lot of respect for Tom Cruise, because not only did Tom Cruise do all that shit, but he also went back and did all the reshoots with the new actors once they got recast. So clearly that man has a constitution that is incomparable to the rest of Hollywood, but still at the same time, I don't blame anyone for that, because if it was just Jennifer Jason Leigh who did that, I would see that. But it was Jennifer Jason Leigh and Harvey Keitel and one other person whose name I'm forgetting.
Well, we'll have to get into Eyes Wide Shut at some point, because here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
So, what do you say, man? eXistenZ. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Yep.
eXistenZ. Written and directed by none other than David Cronenberg, which if you've watched 5 minutes of this movie, you can guess that.
Right.
Starring Jude Law, Jennifer Jason...
real quick.
Go ahead.
For you young folks out there who are Rick and Morty fans, if you remember when Rick once said...
I was wondering if you were going to...
Yeah, because that's the thing. I'm making sure that the kids out there know where the culture comes from. When Rick says, I really Cronenberged this one, he's talking about this. He's talking about this director and his movies and what they look at like when, this shit's gross, man. What can I say? It's gross.
Cronenberg, he's responsible for The Fly, and Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to you, man? All right. Starring Jude Law, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Ian Holm, with Willem Dafoe, Christopher Eccleston, Callum Rennie, Sarah Polley, Robert A. Silverman, and Vic Sahay. Some of those names you're not really going to know, and even if you watch the movie, you're not going to understand why I tossed them in there, because there are a lot of lesser-known actors in this movie. Mm. But they are still a part of this movie.
Sarah Polley had a really good run in like the late 90s, early aughts. I really thought she was going to be a bigger star than she ended up being.
What happened to her?
I have no idea.
Just faded off? Or
just faded off, yeah. I don't know. I haven't looked up her IMDb lately. Maybe she's still out there just doing stuff I haven't seen. But yeah, like she had all sorts of interesting, weird little roles. I thought she and like Scarlett Johansson were going to be neck and neck for what Scarlett Johansson ended up being. Yeah, because they both for the 90s and early aughts, they basically were getting like a lot of the same roles. They could have been interchangeable, but then all of a sudden Scarlett Johansson became Black Widow and Sarah Polley disappeared. So yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I will say this though: Scarlett Johansson, I have zero complaints about. I have no issue with why she's famous, how she gets the roles she gets, everything like that. She's a rock star. Mm-hmm. Like I will give her that. Okay. The opening scene going into eXistenZ has a bit of an explanation over the product and just going into it. So it's a deep dive video game system that is organic, and you plug in the most disgusting way that you could possibly imagine. So it's like this little rubbery, gooey thing, and they basically implant a port in your lower spine, and they jam in a USB umbilical cord.
Yeah, let's call it. It's Cronenberg. We know what he was trying to do here, so let's just say it. You basically get a surgically implanted second asshole, and this thing puts its thing in you,
and takes you for a ride.
Yeah, and grabs you by the spine and takes you for a ride. Yeah, and
not okay. I'm just putting that out there. That's not okay. This is a movie like. whoa. Yeah, so going the opening credits, like just having it be. I'm pretty sure that all of the visuals from the opening credits were the flesh membrane.
Yeah, I think
that
you're right.
just
Yeah.
light was going through. Which, like, I looked at that a couple times trying to figure out what that was, and once I figured it out, I'm like, because I didn't even let the movie play. I just backed it up a couple times because I was really curious. Then it dawned on me. I'm like, dude, you're watching a Cronenberg film. That's skin.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't even try.
Yeah. There's no need to think that hard about it. Yeah.
And then you get into this, and this is kind of funny because this is like AI a little bit. So you get into the story, and she has a rollerblade that she's using as a backpack.
Was that a rollerblade or a ski boot? I thought it was a ski boot.
It was a ski boot.
Yeah.
You're right. It was a ski boot.
Which she's using as a purse. Yeah.
Yeah. However, that's kind of like AI. It's like they get most things right, but then they just it's small details they get wrong. So when I first watched that, before I knew that we were in a video game, I was like,
yep.
She's got a rollerblade as a bag? What is... Okay, I know we're in the 90s, but nobody was that 90s. No, not even in the 90s was anybody that 90s.
Right, yeah.
Like, that was pretty rough. Christopher Eccleston
it gets
using
rougher. That's the thing. Is like that's the first in a long stream of what the fuck moments in this movie.
Yep, quite a few of them. Just too many of them. Like just being real, too many of them. Then Christopher Eccleston having like a New Jersey accent.
While still also his original accent kind of behind it, he was just a little bit.
I'm very happy he doesn't try. I'm very happy he doesn't even try anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we like his voice, we appreciate his voice, and we like him for what he sounds like. I am very happy he doesn't put on accents.
Right, yeah.
It does not work. Because I was like, you sound like a New Jersey, like a Scottish New Jersey. Like, those two places don't share a border, but if they did, you would have grown up on it.
Right, yeah.
Like, it was really jarring for me, and I hated it. So I'm just really glad that he doesn't do that. I got to put that out there. Then, so Jude Law playing this, like, PR guy, marketing guy / pulling security for this.
Sort of, yeah. He's an intern for marketing, and so they got him making sure nobody's bringing cameras in. Is basically what his job is. Yeah.
Yeah, which apparently this is like a multi-billion-dollar video game and all this, like so much money in there.
Right.
This is the level of security.
This is their level of security, and they're having their first presentation meeting in what appears to be an abandoned church.
Honestly, like, we could have taken Don't Think Twice, and we could have had this be the theater for their improv group, and it would have made perfect sense.
Right.
That was the stage.
It was the community room at the local church that they rented. Maybe didn't even rent out, just said, "Can we borrow it?" And the church was like, "Fine." As long as you're gone by the time the A meeting starts, then you're fine. That was basically
going into this. Oh my god. 15. I get it. Even in 1999. $15 million for a movie budget, that's not the most money in the world, especially with a lot of the practical effects that came, because I guarantee most of that money went into the practical effects.
100%, yeah.
Sure. You should save some for the actual movie, though. Oof. I mean, no terrible CGI, no weird lawnmower man graphics or anything like that.
Yeah, there was zero CGI in this movie, in fact, if you don't count the credits. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I appreciated.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get to the one thing that bothered me. Oh, you know what? I just gotta get this movie bothered me so much. It's going to every few minutes is gonna derail me. I know it.
There was one CGI thing, and it was really, really bad, though. That's right. Okay.
What was it?
The little two-headed thing at the gas station.
Oh, right.
I forgot about that thing too. Yeah, because it was such a small little blip. It was again, one of those what is that even doing there kind of moments in a lot of what is that even doing? Which was our
biggest hint that we were in a game.
Well, and that's the thing. It's even if you watch this the second time, knowing in the end, we're not explaining this to the audience. We're spoiling it without spoiling it. it turns out from the beginning they're all in a video game before, like it is about video games, but the video game has started before the movie even has started. They're already players. And and when you go back to watch it a second time, and you now see all the dropped clues, you're like, Jesus, they were slapping us in the face with this. How did we not pick it up the first time?
Yes. I'm gonna have to give this movie some credit. However, I don't want to push anybody to go watch this movie.
Because you'd feel bad. Yeah.
A little bit, as much as I was squirming in my seat. So I sat here, I watched the first 50 minutes of the movie. Okay. Then I was like, okay, I need a little bit of a break. So sure. I just went for a walk, and Kel jumped on, and she started the movie over. And when I came in, the look on her face was... And I looked at her, I was like, same, because she was like, why is your face like that? I was like, you want to watch this? She was like, no. I was like, no, yeah, you do. Trust me. And so I left, and I came back after like 20 minutes, and as soon as I walked the door, she had the exact same face that I had on, and I was like, same face. You see?
Yep.
Nasty. So the kid coming in, and like Jude Law goes through, and he like wands him over, and he checks all this stuff. And Jude Law's name in this is Ted Piker, which I meant to look up to see if that was any kind of anagram or if it meant anything, but I forgot to. He goes
everybody's names in this were kind of like weirdly, like you feel like they make such a point of saying them too. Ted Piker and Allegra
DeFontaine or something.
I can't remember what Allegra's last name is now, even though they shouted it like multiple times. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the thing. Like you felt like they had to be references to something, but yeah, I don't know if they were or not.
It's Allegra Geller.
Geller, right? Yes,
yeah,
Allegra Geller.
Allegra DeFontaine, I think, is the character in Hitch that Will Smith is trying to hook Kevin James up with.
Right.
That was a pretty big jump there. But he's got that like organic bone gun and like the previous version of this organic game.
You know, bone gun. That's what Cronenberg calls it. You know it. You know that's true. That's where that came from. That's how he put that in that script. I hate that
you're probably right about that, but you're probably right about that. I mean, we know all the members of Kiss call theirs their love gun, so...
Right, yeah.
I mean, you never really know. So... Yeah, God, how disgusting that freaking gun was.
Yeah.
Like, just as he was pulling that out, like, I have that written right here. Mega gag moment number 1.
Yeah.
Pulling the gun.
Sinewy is the word. Sinewy. The bone gun is covered in sinew for no goddamn reason.
That is a good
description. Just because this is a Cronenberg movie and everything is sinewy.
Everything just has to be gross. It has to make you squirm. It has to... You gotta wonder a little bit, what does Cronenberg feel when he watches his own movies?
That is a really, really good question.
I don't want the answer. Okay. Yeah, the game pod, the way that this does is like it feels very...
It moves on its own. It moves on its own.
It reacts to touch and stimulation.
It makes chirping and purring noises.
Yes, it felt very, very sensual. It felt like 2 tiers below late night Skinamax. It felt like Cronenberg was making a weird smut film that nobody was going to realize it was smut. But the thing that really ups the bothersomeness of that a little bit is Jennifer Jason Leigh put in a special request, and she had to have her own prop that she was physically connected to, and she took it back and she spent all of her free time in her trailer with it. I don't want to know. I don't want to. The thing is, I don't want to know what's going on with that trailer. There's some how she acts with her relationship with this is so disturbingly disgusting.
Look, here's the thing. The reason why I even saw this movie in the first place, back when it first came out, is because at the time, the woman I was married to was Cronenberg's #1 fan. So, Look, I like
That'll
him
get
weird.
you.
What can I say? What I like him weird, and you know what? What you just told me about Jennifer Jason Leigh made me like her more. What can I say? I
I believe that. I'm
maybe the
scared of it. I believe it though.
yeah, maybe this is something I should be talking to a therapist about. I don't know, but it's there. There it is.
Okay, so here's the thing. When he pulls the bone gun out of the old style game pod, he cocks it. When he cocks it, it makes a metallic gun cocking sound, and I hated that mostly because when Jude Law cocks the gun later in the movie, it sounds like bone.
Huh, interesting. I didn't
So
notice
they
that.
actually knew to do that. They knew that that would have been wrong, but they did it anyway.
But with
Game.
everything else, yeah, that's the thing is like this is, and that's the other thing about this is that it's not just the fact that they're in a game, it's that they're in the beta version of the game. So, like, did they do a bunch of lazy shit with this because they knew they could get away with it once they explained that the game is still in beta later, or did they do it all on purpose as part of the inside joke?
It's tough to say. It's really
Yeah,
tough.
you really can't know. Yeah.
Really. The getaway to the hotel. The old style driving footage behind them in the car as they were
I
going.
know, right? Yes.
What? Why? Why? What? Like I don't.
game's
I'm
in beta.
Still,
The game's
I'm
in
still
beta.
digging through my. Oh, come on. That makes sense. I hate it, but
Yeah.
it makes sense. I don't like it. But also, in that moment, somebody on set should have told Jennifer Jason Leigh, "Hey, dude, your character has been shot."
Oh yeah. No, that's the thing. That's again one of that like when I said, especially the weird shit with Jennifer Jason Leigh's character. She's weirdly giddy throughout this entire thing. And I remember
Yeah,
like
giddy's one way to put that.
yeah, and we're like there were times when I'm watching this going like, okay, either Jennifer Jason Leigh is having the time of her life, that this is her favorite movie that she's ever worked on in her career, and she's just uncontrollably happy to be in this movie, or she's high as balls.
It seemed like she was on like an ecstasy trip or something,
Right.
dude.
But it makes sense later on when you consider the fact that she is a player at a beta test for like one of the world's first full immersion VR video games. She is genuinely having the time of her life because she's in like the greatest game ever made. And we even get more of that later while, at the gas station, there's literally a scene of her walking around feeling the walls. That scene makes no goddamn sense until you know the ending.
True, but was she giddy to be in there? Because we know what she was there to do.
And that may be a convoluted twist to a certain point. Like that's the
thing. Like this movie, you don't know which way to give it credit.
Yeah.
Do you give it credit for actually being twisty and all of that, or is it like, dude, Cronenberg, you missed?
And who knows? That's the thing. I mean, remember the entire like I said, this is a techno panic movie, and beyond like I think there's two layers to it. One layer, the main layer, the obvious in your face layer is what happens when virtual reality gets so good that it's indistinguishable from reality. And the confusion and the psychoses that will engage. That's layer one. And so all the way up to the very end, even, then they're still going, wait, are we still in the game? Even though they've like Inception, they've come out of the game 3 different layers. And now they're even, and the literal final line of the movie is, are we still in the game? And the second layer to it, and again, I could be giving Cronenberg too much credit here because, it could just be, this is Cronenberg's style. He didn't think about it. He wanted to do it this way. But it also could be the fact that he kind of wanted to display the fact how, generally speaking, the tech industry is just as gross as any other industry. We just don't notice it because it's all done in Intel clean room, dust-free clean rooms. So we kind of give it a prestige that it doesn't deserve. In reality, it is just as bloody, disgusting, and gross as any other slaughterhouse. But again, I may be giving Cronenberg way too much credit there, but that is a reading you could take from it.
It is. It is. I can see how you landed there. I really can. Like that. It does make sense. I don't want to give him that credit.
Okay.
This movie bothered me to a point. I mean, I have my struggles with Cronenberg. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
Because
it's absolutely 100% fair.
I'm not saying this was not a well put together story. Some of the acting in it was like this. I'm gonna have to revisit some more Cronenberg work at another time.
It takes some time to recover from a Cronenberg movie. Yes, you can't do 2 in 1. Yes.
Yeah, you got to be a special kind of person to do a Cronenberg marathon.
Yeah.
Like you really do. The hotel scene, like, and we've already talked about this, how sexual and how sensual everything feels around that, and like the way, but even like the way that scene starts is just a close up on the feet, kind of going over each other,
Right.
and rubbing up on each other, and I'm like, this is like you're not even masking what you're doing here, man. This is
Right. Yep.
There are people who watch this for a way different reason than we are.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
No, it's
and
very-
like it was kind of uncomfortable to watch. Softcore porn, like, and try to be enjoying this movie.
Yep.
Like, it's like, dude, this is not what I'm here for. Also, this is really not what I'm into.
Yeah.
Like, this is just not for me. But I like. This was a weird little situation where Jude Law is like, I don't want to be penetrated. You know what I mean.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah.
like the way that they were kind of making fun of him about that a little bit, like it felt like a little bit of making fun of homophobia and all that. But at the same
Right.
time, could you possibly imagine a more reasonable thing?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
No, I
mean,
don't want an
it's-
injection port shoved into my spine. Like,
Right. Yeah.
oh,
People
you
are-
silly. No.
Yeah. Which I'm sure that's Cronenberg's general attitude. You know, like, what do you mean you don't want a second asshole? Who wouldn't want a second asshole in their back? Come on.
Weird dude.
Prude.
Yeah, but if he and I probably would not. If we sat down to have beers, it would probably be me leaving in 10 minutes, going, "Why did I do this?"
I cannot imagine Cronenberg sitting down for a beer with anyone.
No, that would be a weird one. And I like that. But then she's going into about, well, we just need to get you an injection port. He's like, oh yeah, here in the middle of the country. What, at your local country gas station?
Cut to
This.
Cut
A
to
local-
the local
It
country
says,
gas station.
It said,
Country-
and this was the
giant
thing
letters.
where it is telling you it's a video game.
Right,
Country
exactly, like-
gas station.
Country
And-
gas station. The gas station attendant's name is Gas. Like,
Yes.
could this be any more beta version than, like, literally, they were slapping us in the face. This is the video game.
But here's something that I really enjoyed seeing, because honestly, I forgot about it, but then I remembered, it's like, man, we actually did this. When he pulled out a picture of her from his wallet. Boys and girls, before Facebook, that is what creepy people did.
Yes, they kept clippings. Yes, that's true.
Yes. Because at that time, like when I was in like school and stuff like that, we used to get, like, the pretty girls would like gift the dumb guys like me pictures and stuff like that from like school photo day and stuff like that, and we would carry them around because we were stupid little simps.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
Oh,
no.
I had literal, like, I would buy like Entertainment Weekly magazines, and I would cut pictures of Christina Ricci out of them and tack them up onto my wall in my bedroom. Yes, that was a thing that we did before the internet existed. Yes.
I can't deny it. That was me and Rachel Lee Cook.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
That you can't get a bigger crush than what I had for Rachel Lee Cook at that time, man.
I have been in love with Christina Ricci for 30 years, sir.
Okay, so you might understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I thought, because I was watching it the first time. We see the two-headed little baby dragon, and in my head, I thought maybe that was the gun.
Interesting thought. Yes.
I didn't know what was happening because it was such a weird movie. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was coming.
Right. They did establish early on in the movie that this is very futuristic. Everybody's IDs have holograms on them. They got genetically engineered game pods that they're all plugged into. There is a futuristic thing, and so like, okay, little baby mutants running around. Let's roll with that. Yeah. And they even kind of comment on it later when Jude Law, looks at it and comments on it. She goes, yeah, it's a sign of the times, is what she says. So yeah, they.
Well, because when they go to the Chinese restaurant later, they talk about mutated amphibians as like new discoveries of taste and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, that was.
But yeah, that whole scene, like after we've gone to the country gas station that is called Country Gas Station, and we've met the gas station attendant named Gas. Immediately after that, we see her walking around just reveling at everything. She's touching the walls. She's throwing rocks at things and laughing that they're making noise when she hits them. She's like jumping around. Like she is literally a game tester.
She was on an ecstasy trip this whole movie.
Right. And so it's like, okay, it makes sense in hindsight now. She was a game tester reveling at how good this game was built, including the weird little two-headed dragon thing that she's petting as soon as she sees it.
It was weird.
And it's like they flat out, like, I don't know how we could sit there and say it's a spoiler to say, yes, this was the video game the whole time. Because it's like in second viewing, it's so you feel stupid for not realizing it the first time around because they are literally slapping you in the face.
Little bit.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually key in until the very end.
Right.
But I'll get to that. Oh, here we go. Yeah. The mega gag moment number 2. The injection and then him questioning, like, what about an infection? And then the way she sticks her tongue out. I don't know why I thought this was so gross, but just literally the way that she did it.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, there are a million ways you can open your mouth, and that's the way you decided to do that? Did Cronenberg coach her on how to do that in the most creepy of all the million ways that you could have done that?
Probably.
God. Yeah. Just improper. That's all I'm like. I mean, just really.
Remember your place, young lady.
Oh, it was.
That was unbecoming of Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Dude, that was unbecoming of the human race. That's all. I would rather have a Maori warrior like 200 years ago, like sticking his tongue out at me than ever watch that again. I would rather be literally minutes away from getting eaten than ever have somebody look at me and do like that.
Okay, I thought it was more goofy than gross, but okay, I'm fine. I've got nothing against it.
I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe because the movie already was like setting my gross triggers off, and I was like already there a little bit.
And that makes sense. I could see that, sure.
Okay, and then like the whole thing about a neurosurge, and she's like, "You panicked when you plugged in and you fried the system." It's like, okay, before I realized what happened, it's like, lady, you've been hounding this man that has been saying, "I don't want to do this. I'm not comfortable. All this. I'm freaked out by this. I have a phobia," and then he panics, which is probably the most expected thing imaginable in that situation, but. Yeah, she's hauling off on him. But then we find out Willem Dafoe as Gas, the gas station attendant.
Named Gas, yes.
Yes, gave him, what was it, an infected one?
Or some, yeah.
A corrupted one?
Corrupted, I think. Infected came later, I think.
Yeah, the infection came after, and that came from Ian Holm doing quite possibly the worst Hungarian accent that I've ever heard in my life. But he did call it out later.
Yes.
So, I'll give him that. And Ian Holm has always been great, but this was Ian Holm before Bilbo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, was he ever young?
Not that
I don't think I've ever did he get into film as an old man? Because I don't remember ever seeing him young.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think the first thing I ever saw him in was a movie called The Sweet Hereafter, and that came out like maybe 3-4 years before this one. So yeah, I have no idea.
Here's the thing. This line that Gas gives them, like, like, when Gas is about to kill them, like he's betrayed her, like she's worth $5 million, and then Jude Law's like, but you said she changed your life. This is the line I wish it would have been. I wish Willem Dafoe would have given the mad eyes that he's really good at, and said, yeah, and she's gonna do it again.
Right, that would have been a much better
line.
Yeah.
But the line that he gave was just, I can't even remember it. Like, it's not, it's
I don't remember it either. Yeah.
I'm criticizing it. I can't even remember it. It's not memorable.
Right.
Like, that was a huge miss. Huge. It should, like, yeah.
Especially considering all of the really good lines he had leading up to that with things like,
right?
God the mechanic, and like,
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That, the word eXistenZ, that is between the X and the Z, that I believe is Hungarian for God.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not catch up on that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they.
That makes the title slightly more. That makes the title slightly more clever.
Little bit, and it also explains why the X and the Z is actually capitalized, because it somewhat highlights eXistenZ.
But it's also at the same. I mean, I always threw it off as like, because this is a video game movie, Cronenberg was making a comment about video game marketing, and back then, video games did shit like that all the damn time. So.
That's true. The 90s were all extreme and everything like that.
The letter X was way overused, and choosing weird places to put your capital letters was also a very common thing. Like that was a really like. That's a very, very 90s
there
marketing
might
thing
be
to do.
Yeah, there might be that. I can see where you're coming from with that, and I can see how you got there, but I think it's just the God thing. But I do see how you got there, so I don't know. That is a good
Could
theory.
be a little bit of both. You never know with Cronenberg. You never know just how offhandedly whatever versus actual genius he is. The guy is so all over the
and
place.
his fans are just as weird.
Right. Yes.
Like
for
this
sure.
movie like globally didn't even make $3 million on a $15 million budget.
Wow.
And
I did
yeah,
not know
like
that.
when you're going through, it's like it was because of marketing and it was because of this. It's like, no, you freaking weirdos. It's because it's a bad movie. Okay,
it's
weird,
because
bad.
half of the people who would have gone to see this movie probably left halfway through with sick stomachs and demanded their money back.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, that is like, I'm sorry, you don't get to say that. It's like, oh, in Canada they didn't do this because of this, because it wasn't as distributed, and like no one knows why. It's like, what do you mean no one knows why?
Watch the movie. It's fucking clear why.
It's very understandable on why this movie did not get huge.
This movie is for a
twist was right.
very specific audience.
Yes, it was.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If you are that audience, we're not saying there's anything wrong with you.
No, every movie is for somebody. Not most movies are not for everybody. This movie is not for the majority. It's not even for the majority of the minority. This movie is rough.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
You have to be into this kind of stuff to be at all able to get through this. Like,
yes.
Like a revisit of previous episodes. I am not a boat movie person, but I enjoyed Master and Commander. This movie, if you are not a gross cinema person, you are not going to enjoy this movie.
I really don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just to make sure that we are addressing the Canadian audience.
Hi, Canada.
Out to the ski house.
Out to the... A recall to the fact that she's using a ski boot as a purse. Clearly, she comes from a skiing family, and that's why.
This is I feel like the throws
because that's what
to
skiing
Canada,
families do.
I don't know. Like the weird throws to Canada were not throws that made sense, except for the ski house.
Right.
Having the ski house is like, okay, all right, yeah, plenty of Canadians have memories in ski houses. I'm from North Dakota. I have memories in ski houses. If you're from a place with winter, you have the warm places.
Sure.
Like, that's just, yeah. So I understand that. And then the two-headed amphibian shows up again, and I lost it when I saw Ian Holm.
Oh, yeah?
I freaking love Ian Holm, man. Like, there's not, like, I've never seen him show up on camera and ever disappoint.
Yep. No, that's true.
Never.
That's very true.
He is one of those. Not every movie he's in is a good movie, obviously, but every performance that he gives is a good performance, and I really love singing the praises of actors who can be good in a bad project.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep.
Okay, then we get the surgery on the game pod and an explanation as to
more gross,
what they are,
gross
and
piled
more
on
just
top of gross.
sinewy, just more
Sinewy,
sinewy,
yes.
just
Yes.
all of it. And then them in the room, and then her putting like the chapstick lube and fingering his back hole. Seriously, dude, what is this movie?
It's not enough that he has to make this gross. He's got to make it gross and sexual at the same time. This is a movie that can make you unhorny so fast.
It really can. I'm telling you, man, that's what I'm saying. This movie, like, scenes from this movie belong in weird sections of the dark web. Like, it's just that the people who love this and are just like, yeah, oh my god, I love that. That was like, okay, I'm
Like
gonna give
my
you some
ex-wife.
points on creativity. Your ex-wife scares me. This is not the first time I've said that, and probably not going to be the last time. But in the future, when I talk to somebody about this movie and they go, "Oh, I love that movie,"
that's going to tell you a lot.
That's going to tell me a lot. I'm going to know a lot about.
Litmus tests. Yeah. Before this conversation continues, I've got a few questions. First of all, who did you vote for in this election? And second of all, what did you think of this movie?
Oh, this election.
We don't have to go into politics. We don't have to go into politics. I was just basically saying, like, those two answers can tell you a lot about a person.
Well, realistically, yeah, because I mean, okay, so yes, in this particular election, the extremes are too big. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to get too far into it, and yeah, but that's all I'm gonna say is like, this one, you are a certain type of person, you ain't voting for Biden, and if you're a certain type of person, you ain't voting for Trump. Like, the differences are too big. There's no middle ground here.
Yeah.
But that's all I'm gonna say. Okay, entering the game was a pretty cool concept. Having like people bleeding in, like if you were to put on these goggles here or port into the system, I would be in the same room. Only somebody I don't recognize would come around the corner, and then that would be an NPC, and then you just follow that person, and everything else comes in. That was probably the most clever, creative, clever, beautiful. I thought it was spot on.
Yeah, his first attention that the game is starting is some dude is walking down the stairs of the ski chalet they're in, and when he gets to the bottom of the stairs, all of a sudden the ski chalet is now a game store, and when he stops to go wait a second and looks around, now the entire place is a game store. He was very gently moved in by having his real environment bleed into the new environment as his perception went. Beautifully done. If VR games do that in the future, 100 years from now,
that's how it should be done.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, keep the brain out of my back.
Yeah, no second butthole. We don't need that. I'm fine with almost any other interface but a second butthole.
Yeah, because what we're about to talk about here, honestly, seriously, genuinely, I know what you're about to talk
about.
The movie,
do we have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you put this movie on me. You didn't, like, there's, like, okay, I'm talking about this.
You're right. Okay. This is on me. You're right.
How the game takes control when needed. Like, so if you don't know your dialogue, you're lost and everything like that. So apparently the game would take control and kind of turn you into an NPC and, like, deliver your dialogue for you and put you into that position. That, clever, hated it. I would never want to be in that situation.
That sounds like kind of a shit game to me. If you don't have that freedom of movement kind of thing, I mean, yeah.
I understood it as a storytelling device and a way to further the plot. However, in practicality, if that's how they planned on doing this in the future or whatever, horrible decision. Don't do that. Okay.
So now we get into the game within
Jude
the game
Law
within a game.
Oh, God. Takes his tongue and he sticks it into the game port back butt plug hole.
Jennifer Jason. To be fair, it was Jennifer Jason Leigh's second butthole.
That does not matter. That does not matter. The fact that he did that and then he comes back and is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't me." You know what? Bullshit. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. No. The game took control of me. No. Cronenberg he wanted that scene. That's all.
He did. For sure. Absolutely, 100%.
Freaking creepy bastard.
But I'll tell you what was great. What was great was Jennifer Jason Leigh's follow-up dialogue, because first she like gets mad, like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she starts making out with him. Clearly the game has taken over her as well, over. She goes and she says, like, okay, so clearly she's like, the game obviously wants these two, to hook up. And she goes, probably some lazy way to add tension to the escape scene later. She literally says the word. She literally said, as the trite makeout scene is going on, she comments on how it is a trite, lazy writing.
Okay, I missed that.
Okay,
but I'll give that.
Well, she was saying it through Jude Law's face. I didn't actually catch it until like the third time I heard her say it. So,
okay. How many times did you watch this movie this week?
I didn't watch it a second time. I kind of scrolled through it looking for screenshots for my slideshow that I haven't started yet, because I have a slideshow option on here for while we're talking about it, but I haven't turned it on yet because I'm still kind of just generally. I tried to keep the most gross shit out, but it was tough, But
what scene was there not gross? Like...
Mostly just profiles. Mostly it's just pictures of characters looking confused. Okay. That's a vast majority of the slideshow.
Yeah, when I got people like when you were talking to me about potentially doing reactions and all that. Mm-hmm. No, my reaction to this movie would have been just my face for an hour and 20 minutes.
Just a whole hour and a half of just.
Yeah, that's all that would have been. Like, I don't know how many people would have enjoyed seeing that, but you will see what happens in the future, because I've actually been kind of thinking that. Okay, so this was a little bit the scene that you were talking about, them making out, them fooling around a little bit. And then, like, she goes back to chest with him, and then, like, he has his hand on her boob. And then the very next transition, it goes from hand on her boob to holding mutated salmon? Is that correct?
or some kind of frog thing. It was some sort of mutant frog fish thing.
Yeah, the note I have here is, well, that's not the same squishy thing it was before.
Right, yeah. And you know what? Here's if the look of disappointment and confusion on Jude Law's face was probably the best acting he did in that entire movie. But I also think that was on purpose, because I think, remember, they're already in the game, and while Jennifer Jason Leigh is playing someone who's a player in the game and is giddy about everything she's experiencing, at the same time Jude Law is also playing another player, and he's trying really hard to stay in character throughout the entire game, because that's what's important to him in his gameplay is playing his character. So his little moments of like, I don't feel right about this, like he's trying really hard to be who he's supposed to be in this game.
See, I took that because at the end we find out that he's the one that's about the realism and all of this, and so is she. So I took that as him, like, after the movie was done, I guess. So right now that I'm thinking about it, he is taking that as his hatred over the entire concept is starting to bleed into the game.
Right, exactly. Which they do even kind of say, like, they kind of set that up about how a lot of parts of the game are built in real time, probably in some form of AI based on each player. The guy who, who says, he's like, the premise of the game starts with someone trying to assassinate a game designer. I didn't write that.
Yeah.
Like, he literally, and then there's even the part with the dog. Every time the bone gun shows up, someone says,
That I thought was truly clever.
Yeah.
Truly clever story writing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the same thing goes, with the realism, with the two of them being a couple, like all of these weird little things that it turns out those were all elements that were taken from the players themselves to build the game in real time, which, if you ask me, that's lazy fucking game design.
But good storytelling.
Yes, good storytelling,
We'll say that.
for sure. Yeah.
So playing into the role dives further into the story, which is something that we've already kind of set up, which if you want to take a message from this story, that's what it is. The realists are the ones who are kind of the anarchists and all that, and the game designers are essentially, if you want to take it to this place, corporate America, government, so it's like, just do your role, fit into your role, do your job, go your thing, like that. But if you step out of lines, if you get into the weird, that's when it's a problem. But as long as you do everything that you're supposed to, the story progresses the way that it's supposed to, and things go the way it's intended.
And what I thought was very interesting too, and this was kind of a throwaway line by Ian Holm later on when he talks about how the reason why he did his sabotage is because he was going to go over to the competing company, the company that's making eXistenZ. He had decided to leave that company, go over to their competitors, and he was stealing the game and taking it with him.
Which you got to imagine that might have been the game developer.
Maybe, yeah. But also at the same time, when he says that, he uses the word defect. He doesn't say, I've taken another job. He said, I'm defecting over to Cortical Central or whatever.
Whatever it was.
As though these competing video game companies are warring nations. I thought that, I don't know how intentional that was, but I thought that was really, really clever in this world building of, like you said, as long as you play your role in the game, everything's fine. If you want to try to go any sort of autonomy or realism, you are an anarchist. In that same regard, these video game companies, these conglomerate corporations are in fact warring nations. You don't just go get another job, you have to defect to them.
Yeah, see, like I said, like you can find some messages in this movie, and I'm not going to say that they weren't on purpose because they seem a little bit too obvious to not have been on purpose.
Very good point, yes.
Still,
it is a techno panic, which means a lot of it is way over the top. Like, even if virtual reality were to become that engaged, I highly doubt there's going to be warring bands of anarchists going around murdering video game designers over it.
Honestly, I mean, dude, come on. We've seen how weird the world is. We know. Like, you really can't say that.
This is a very recent development. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll pass. Call me an optimist.
See. Yeah, we'll call me a pessimist on that one.
Yeah, but
this was my one. Okay, no, I had some like grossed out, this is a nasty ass movie moments as I was going through this, but I think this was my one actual only problem with the movie. She went into an NPC like loop.
Yes, I was going to bring that up too, as though that's weird, and there was no. And they made a big deal of it. It was an obvious thing. Like, she asks him a question. He answers it. She stares at him blankly.
There could have been an... Okay, go.
Yeah, she stares at him blankly and then repeats the motion that she just did, looks at him and asks him the same question again. They could not have made it more obvious that she was in an NPC loop waiting for his correct response. And you can see the wheels turning in his eyes. He sees it. He gets it. He notices it. And then nothing becomes of it throughout the rest of the movie. There's no reveal of any kind. There's no callback, no nothing. Yeah, and I imagine what you're probably going to say. There might have been a deleted scene of some kind that explained that they just decided to cut for no reason or for
Well,
time.
here's where they really screwed it. They actually added in a line of dialogue at the end of the movie that completely confirms the fact that was a screw up. Vic Sahay at the end of the movie is like, "Hey, I was really sad that I was written out of the game right away at like so early on."
Oh, right.
It's like,
yeah.
okay, if he would not have said that, my mind was thinking that everybody who was plugged in had their own journey. Everybody had, like, all the characters, all that. But when he said that, he just became one of the NPCs, like, basically a background character in one of the others.
Right.
And he just didn't do anything the entire game.
That was the thing. That was what was interesting, is that it almost implied that there was an actual competition going on, that there was a possibility there that Ian Holm could have gotten away with what he was doing and he would have been the winner of the game or something like that. But you're right. They did kind of act like, but then, well, and the same thing with Eccleston too. Eccleston, even, he said, like, I had a pretty big part in the beginning, and then he goes like, but honestly, I thought the character was boring. And I remember thinking, that is such an Eccleston thing to say. Like,
that I could buy that as improv. I could see that as the actor saying it, not the character.
Right. Yeah.
No,
you're right. That was very strange that they kind of went back and forth on. In fact, even the guy who were introduced to the NPC loop, the guy who runs the store, who gives us the first NPC loop that tells us that this is a thing, that guy is among the players. He's among the players. He's sitting right next to the kid who says, I got written out too early.
Isn't that Don McKellar? I thought he was the game designer.
No, I don't know what that actor's name is. I didn't recognize him. But yeah,
no, neither did I.
But yeah, no, the guy who in the store, who's supposed to be an NPC, who gives us the first introduction to the NPC loop, he is a player. He's sitting right there when they all come out of the game at the end of the movie.
Isn't that the same guy who was at the trout farm? And I thought that was the same actor popping in multiple times.
No, the guy who was at the trout farm, that basically told him, like, you got to go to the Chinese restaurant. That was the game designer. That was the game designer. Okay,
yes. So I got these two actors. I thought they were the same one. That's
okay.
On me. Okay. Oh God. Then we get into the Chinese restaurant, and Jude Law freaks out. It's too real. He goes in like, eXistenZ pause, and then the way he goes down.
Funny. Yes,
that was funny, creative, cinematically, like the way that they transformed the table into the bed and his face. Dude, that was incredible.
That was a genuinely brilliantly funny moment. Yes.
Yes, I will say in a movie full of that was I'll give it that.
Like credit to Jude Law on that one. Credit to even David Cronenberg on that. Kind of makes you wonder what would the world be like if David Cronenberg did comedy instead.
Better. As long as you pair him up with somebody that just goes, check the gross stuff, stop it.
Yeah, calm down, save it for the bedroom, buddy. This is
Hollywood. Movie. Let's just do one movie that we don't do this crap. I would like to see what that movie would have looked like.
Yeah,
maybe it does exist. Maybe it does. I don't know. I'll look into it. She is 100% an addict.
Yeah, for sure.
She is completely addicted to this game. It's a drug. She doesn't want the real world. She doesn't want reality. She wants into this game.
She is. Every moment of life outside of the game, she is furious about. Clearly, yes.
Dude, like half of these notes that I'm looking at, I swear to God, dude, my stomach is turning just by looking at the note. Like, back into the game, and it's time to dine on little buddy to assemble the gun. As Jude Law is going through and he's eating all that, he's putting everything together. That might be the most disgusting scene that I have ever seen in any movie ever.
Do we know how much Jude Law got paid for this movie? Because it wasn't enough.
He should have got the total movie's budget was $15 million, and I would have in today's money, that's probably what he would have gotten paid to do this movie.
Probably, yeah.
Like, oh my God. Why was she prepared to be? Oh, never mind. It actually answers it in the end of the movie. But like he's talking about who like they need to attack, who they're after, and she like grips the soup bowl like she's about to attack him.
Right.
And yeah, he puts a gun at her. It's like death to Allegra, like the demoness.
Death to the demoness. Yep. He quotes the assassin from the beginning of the movie. Doesn't even. Yeah. And here's the weird thing. He doesn't even like. He just kind of goes like, "Oh, I'm sorry. That seemed funnier weird in my head," or something like that. He could have gone like, "That was the game making me do it," like he did with the tongue thing. But he didn't say that this time. Yeah,
he should have. He really should have. But weird. Also, this was the worst death scene of 1999. And if you have one that is worse than this, go ahead, send an email to pixoritdidn'thappen@heist.com.
You did not. You did not.
I need to. I probably should, just so we have something that audience members can send in if they have something like that. Because you can't comment videos or photos on YouTube or anything. So
okay.
I was thinking about doing something like that. Maybe not call it Pix or It Didn't Happen.
No.
Seriously, though, like, every single death scene, every shot in this movie was absolutely terrible. I forgot to mention this earlier, but when Jude Law, like, takes out Willem Dafoe, he takes the gun and he holds it, like, all the way up here instead of aiming it or anything like that. He holds it in the worst, to where it could have gone right past him and right into her.
Right.
It's like, okay, Cronenberg, you were going for a nice shot, and one, it wasn't a nice shot. You just wound up doing something really stupid.
Right.
Like, why didn't you just have him, like, Jude Law stand up? It would have made sense. Like,
no, he was paralyzed. Remember?
Was he still paralyzed?
He was still paralyzed. Even after that scene, she had to carry him out of the room. Yeah, he was still paralyzed. Okay. Yeah.
Still, aim like this. Like, that's all. That was it. But changing the deaths, like in the death scene in the Chinese restaurant, where you had the waiter come up and then they completely changed the face. Yeah. Like to a full mannequin, and not so you could have the head explode or something, but just so you could have, and not even here or here or here. Literally, it was like they replaced the whole thing to have a mannequin, so the bullet would rush off the cheek.
Right. Yes, because he wasn't supposed to die on the first shot. They needed to shoot him twice. It had to be dramatic.
It was bad.
Right.
That is what that was.
But also impressive velocity on that bone gun.
Oh, I was about to say, there was nothing impressive about that scene. Don't you dare try to give Cronenberg credit for something. Like, no. We be honest here. Come on. It was terrible. And then, yeah, the game designer coming back in, and it was a little bit clever to have the actual game designer given the exposition and dropping all that through. I thought that was pretty clever. Hit by a car, the game. How big of a laugh did you get for that? It got a big one for me.
I included a screenshot of that in my slideshow.
Yeah, no, hit by a car, the game. So it's virtual reality. You set yourself up, and then you go in to get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a kink. That is the only thing that I can possibly even think to say to that.
And the best part is, like, the cover is basically just like a graphic of a speeding car going by, and then a person who is like flying through the air after having been hit by a car with a big giant smile on his face. Wait a second. Was that a Cronenberg movie too?
Yeah. This was his follow-up movie to Crash.
Okay. So there you go.
So I guess that kind of explains that one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it that. However, I will say it made me laugh. It really made me laugh.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. 100%.
And then, literally, double agents, subterfuge, and confusion. Just this portion of the movie is all. We're gonna throw everything.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens.
Which again they commented on in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and then back to the trout farm to port into the diseased port. And I'm sorry, when the dude comes in, like the game creator, death to realism, and then
with a flamethrower.
With the flamethrower that he doesn't turn on. And he's like, flamethrower. Like
They
basically
did
like
not
taking
have-
like death to and then taking a little like barbecue lighter.
Yeah,
It was so
They didn't
so
have-
pathetic.
they didn't have the budget for it. They spent all their money on the diseased pod and the bone and the disassembled bone gun, and so they didn't have money for real fire coming out of the flamethrower.
You could not. I'm telling you, if you have not seen this movie, you can't imagine how bad this scene is. Whatever is going through your mind right now, whatever you are thinking, it's like, oh, okay, so we probably came in like, no. Death to realism. It was really bad. I'm just.
But fire is starting. It's just not coming from him.
No, fire is starting, and it is coming out of that. But this kind of torch is the kind of torch that you would use to heat ice off of concrete. Just to like really dry something off to make it safe or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's like one of those really big propane torches. That's what it was, and it was at the lowest setting. There was almost no propane coming out of this thing. Like, oh, I really hate that. And okay, we brought it back with us. Fuck off. Like not the concept of it bleeding into reality or like that. The delivery of that line. You had four incredibly talented actors in that one scene. That's what I got. Cronenberg.
Well,
This
is where the cascade of things, everything falling apart so fast happens. Where first you've got them coming out of the first layer of the game, and we brought the infection back with us, and then the fucking explosions start outside, and the game character from the first layer of the game charges in. The revolution has begun.
We're walking this way. We're walking this way. We're walking this way. Like it was just okay. It was,
and even better is like he gets to the top of the hill and he's like, you can see everything from here, and there's fucking nothing out there. There's like one little fire off to the side. He's like, you can see it all from here. And even Jude Law looks at him and goes, what are we looking at?
Okay. So this was the moment. We brought it back with us. He gets infected, and then is the whole movie in game. And then I was like, okay, so Ian Holm is a corporate spy, and then he gets blasted. And my moment there, because I was like, wait, who is it? And all of a sudden he's dead, and I was like, no, Bilbo! Like I really love Ian Holm, man.
Don't kill Bilbo!
And then I had that thought. I was like, so when she starts screaming out, did I win? And all that, like the game, the plastic game, it goes on and it goes on her hand, so it's not an organic thing. So I thought at first, I was like, oh God, she leveled up. And there's a sequel. I was nervous, man. I was like, no, you didn't, no.
No, but that is where, like, that's where the actual thesis of the movie lays down. After she kills Ian Holm, and Jude Law's like, what did you just do? And she goes, he was just a game character, and I didn't like how he was screwing with my head. And he goes, but what if we're not still in the game?
Which is the actual last line of the movie from a different person.
Right, exactly. And again, that's the treatise of the entire movie is what happens when you literally can't tell the difference between virtual reality and real life. Yeah.
Yes. That is a danger of full dive. And I do understand the fact that that's a danger of full dive because like people sometimes, like, 'cause you've heard stories of people where they're like, they've had a dream that has lasted like a whole year and all that stuff. And then they come out of their dream and they're a little bit unsure over what's reality and what's fiction.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
If you wind up in something that actually would replicate real world sensation,
right,
that is something that I do believe could happen.
Sure, yeah.
Now, my very final note on this movie was, damn it, they stuck the landing.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And that's
the
why,
annoying
and that's
thing.
the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what wiped your memory and got you thinking this was a good movie, a decent experience, something we were gonna have fun to talk about. I'm not gonna lie, I did have fun talking about it. I did not have fun watching it. Like this was one of those. Like this is a movie that is fun to talk about, and it sticks with you. It's gonna stick with me. I'm gonna have a nightmare about this at some point in the next month. I'm sure.
Sure. Probably
But,
me too. Yeah.
Like, it might not be the worst nightmare. It might be kind of fun. I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's
Jennifer
me,
Jason Leigh and Jude Law are in it, then I mean, right? How many buttholes does everyone have?
You have a much bigger thing. You have a much bigger thing for Jennifer Jason Leigh than I do. Clearly.
First time I ever saw Jennifer Jason Leigh was in Single White Female. So yeah, she may have left an impression on me.
That would do it.
Yep.
That would definitely do it. No, they were really, really fighting for Jennifer Jason Leigh for this movie.
No, and for good reason, I'm sure. Yes.
I'm sure it didn't show up in the performance. Pretty much anybody could have given that performance. I'm not gonna knock Jennifer Jason Leigh as a performer. This character could have been done by anybody.
I could see that for sure. Yeah. I don't know about anybody, but it definitely wasn't. It's not like the Ian Holm character. Nobody could have done it but him, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I could see that. I could think of probably a few actresses that probably would have been just as good in the role. That's probably true. But yeah,
Jude
it sounds like if that story about her wanting to be left alone with her game pod for a few hours is true, if that story is true, then that probably means that she was meant for this movie. I don't think we would have gotten.
She
that
understood
kind of
the character. I'll give you that
for sure. Yeah,
I'm still very creeped out by this whole movie. Pretty much the entire cast. Definitely the guy who played the game creator. He creeps me out. Jennifer Jason Leigh creeped me out a little bit. David Cronenberg, you have earned your place, sir. I'm just putting that out there. You creepy bastard. Final thoughts on eXistenZ? Doc, you go first. It was your movie.
It takes a very, very special kind of person to be into this kind of movie. But if it's your kind of movie, or even if you just believe that you can handle this kind of movie, then it ain't bad. And like I said before, one of the reasons I want to talk about it is because it's a techno-panic movie from the 90s. I have always believed it is fun to watch techno-panic stuff from the past, to just sort of have a giggle about everything that got wrong.
I'll give you that.
This movie absolutely 100% lives up to that, while still also getting some things right, which is interesting. Like I said, this is a movie about a beta testing of a game made by someone who clearly has beta tested games before. So that's definitely amusing.
All right.
And but yeah,
recommendation.
Careful. It's a careful recommendation. You might like this movie, but just be warned. It takes a strong constitution to get through it. And if you can't, I warned you.
and if you can't, I don't blame you.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Not only if you can't, if you eventually have no interest, I don't blame you.
Right.
Like if this is a movie that at a certain point, like if you're watching Jude Law eat that little mutated amphibian to make that gun, and you don't make it to the end of that scene, you just lose interest in the movie, I don't blame you.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
No, not even a little bit.
It's like when they talk about like when rookie cops are showing up for their first murder scene and they're throwing up over on the side, and the veteran cops are like, "Don't take it personal, man. It means you're human." Like that's what that is. If you can't make it through that scene, that just means you're human. Don't worry about it.
You're just a regular and normal person who shouldn't invite David Cronenberg over for dinner.
Truth. Very, very strong truth there. Yeah.
I'm not recommending this movie to anybody. And if I do wind up recommending this to you, dear audience member,
call somebody. Get on my emergency contacts if that happens. Is that what you're saying?
Just know that I don't trust you around my dog.
If Brad recommends this movie to you, if Brad recommends that you see this movie, it means he doesn't like you at all. That's his way of saying, "Don't call me again."
I'm not arguing that. This is not one that I'm ever going to push on to somebody I love. God. Final
Again,
thoughts?
apologies to you on this one. Apologies to Kelly. Apologies to the audience.
This movie the Cronenberg, he exists for a reason. He has a fan base. Not every movie is for me, but every movie is for somebody.
I guess at this point, if you know who David Cronenberg is, you kind of already are into his stuff. So there probably was a pretty strong leeway of his existing fan base in that.
Yeah, I'll give you that. All right. Last chance for final thoughts on this Cronenbergian disaster.
I said what I came here to say.
Fair enough. I am ready for the second round. First movie that we covered this week was gross, awkward, cringy, and second movie, Secondhand.
None of those things. None of the we could not have picked two more polar opposite movies if we tried. I don't think.
No, I really don't. This was not on purpose, but my God, you really couldn't. So, jumping right into it, Secondhand Lions, written and directed by Tim McCanlies. You're gonna like this. He was a concept writer for like half the episodes for Smallville.
Okay, all right, that tracks.
I can see
all
that.
Right, sure.
I can see that after watching this movie and seeing how much heart from this movie and in Smallville, I really do see that. Here's one that the audience will really connect with, though. He wrote the screenplay for The Iron Giant.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this guy knows how to reach the heart.
He really does, yeah.
Composed by Patrick Doyle. Usually, I'm not going to throw in the composer unless the composer deserves to be called out.
There was played a pretty heavy role in this one. There was really good use of music in this movie. Absolutely. I agree.
Very good. So again, Patrick Doyle, he did Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Murder on the Orient Express, and Death on the Nile, and just so many more. Like, Patrick Doyle, you got it. Mm-hmm. This movie is starring Haley Joel Osment, Michael Caine, and Robert Duvall. With
Michael Caine doing a Texan accent. If you can,
not bad.
Like, mind blowing is what that was.
Never even seemed unnatural. Never questioned a single moment of it. So like I said, Haley Joel Osment, Michael Caine, and Robert Duvall, with Kyra Sedgwick, Josh Lucas, Emmanuelle Vagier, Christian Kane, Jennifer Stone, Adrian Pasdar, and Mitchel Musso.
Yep. This
is a strong cast.
Yeah, it really is.
And oh man, getting right into it. Just the opening scene, right in with two old men. We got old Michael Caine, old Robert Duvall in their final adventure in this plane, which I'll get that.
Well, it's an interesting way to open the movie because you open up with just what looks like two crazy old dudes going crazy. All right, mm-hmm. You don't know what you're looking at, until later on. But what you do know is you get a very, very instant, strong introduction to who these characters are right from the bat. Like there is, exactly who these guys are in seconds. No need for any exposition drop or nothing. Like immediately you're like, oh, I know who these guys are. Like you immediately know which one of your uncles or which grandpa is these guys. Like you got it. You're ready. You're like, I know exactly what kind of movie I'm going to watch now. And then, just kind of transitions smoothly into a flashback from there. And then it goes to
the call, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we go from there to the cartoon studio, because apparently our Haley Joel Osment's character has apparently grown up to be Bill Watterson from the looks of it, and he gets the phone call. It says like there's been an accident. It's your two uncles, and then immediately fades out from there. Now we are with Haley Joel Osment in the car about to meet his two uncles for the first time,
Right, and in the car we have Mama Kyra Sedgwick lying and giving us our full exposition dump that I have it written here as expedition dump. And then Haley Joel playing the character Walter. Walter says, "You want them to like me so they'll die and give us their money?" And she just smiles. She is an awful, awful character.
Right. But she is clearly not the only awful person in this family.
No, everybody except for these three were just terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. I did love meeting the grumpy old men, and then Hub immediately thinks she's a hooker.
Right, yeah.
That I laughed every time. This is the movie on my top 5 that Tropic Thunder competes with.
Okay, interesting. All right.
And two very, very different movies, but when I go for my top 5 favorite movies, this one and Tropic Thunder fight with each other.
Okay. I wouldn't agree, but I could see that.
Well, I mean, a person's top 5 favorite movies have nothing to do with quality or anything like that. It's just what you connect with the most.
Right, yeah. That's true. Yeah, and I could see how there would be a connection to this for sure. Yeah.
I love this. Last thing we need is some little sissy boy. And then she's like, well, he needs a strong man's influence. And he's just listening to it all. And what person can't relate to that? Where your parents oh, come on, there's a wall here, so very clearly they can't hear us. And then you just wind up eavesdropping and hearing them it's like, oh, I wish I didn't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I felt that on his face, on Haley Joel as a child actor. Really, as an actor altogether, he is very, very tremendous. The only thing was, he just didn't grow up to get tall and buff. When she is saying goodbye and tells him, people would like you more if you would smile, and then he tries to give her a smile, but
I felt that so hard.
I did too, man. I did too. He did such a tremendous job. Really, really good job. If my mom calls, no telephone. Can I go watch TV? No television?
Yep.
All of this. Just the reality of his new world kind of sinking down on him. All of it. I really appreciated that. Then I love the wee-hoo song that came in for the montage of the salesman.
Yep.
I had so much fun with that.
That was one of the first surprises for me, because I thought for sure it was going to turn out that the money was bullshit, but then all of a sudden all the salesmen start showing up, being like, "Here, you got some cash, and I'm here to take some of it from you," and they've got the shotguns ready, kaboom, kaboom, and I'm like, you know what? I agree. I'm not a person who usually advocates for violence, but that was clearly called for. That is it's hard to think of a more appropriate response in that situation.
Well, because this movie took place, I forgot to check out for the year, but I'm pretty sure it's 1945.
Sounds about right. Maybe a little bit later, because it seems like that there's even a, because he mentions he fought in 2 world wars, so that means, and the story we hear about him is from World War I, but that means he also stuck around and finished off World War II as well. So I'm guessing it was probably maybe 49, 50 is what I assumed.
Yeah, I could buy that. Okay, yeah. When they send him off to bed and they're like, "Hey, we're old, so if we kick off in the middle of the night, you take care of yourself."
Right, dude, you're on your own, yeah.
Michael Caine and Robert Duvall playing off each other and messing with this kid was I don't know if I could ever get enough of it.
That was a perfect comedy duo. Like, who would have thought? I gotta see if there's any more movies of just those two, just like being cranky old men at each other, you know.
Really, really, that is a pairing that, like, the fact that they were put together, I wish I want so much more. I really do. But this movie is perfect. You can't do a sequel. You can't do a prequel. It's already been 20 years. It's like, you can't.
Yeah.
Like,
and the movie kind of is its own prequel in a way too. Like, when you got HUD and who's the other uncle's name?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Can't
you
remember.
Forgot too. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Caine and
Michael
Robert
Caine.
Duvall.
Yeah, so when Michael Caine is telling the stories of what Robert Duvall was up to back in Africa, that is the prequel. That is the prequel movie right there. We got both the movie and the prequel to the movie all in one. Especially when you take into account that prequel, like, that's what I know I'm jumping ahead here, but that was the thing that, like, blew me. That's the thing that I loved most about this movie, is that when Michael Caine is telling the story and we're seeing the past events, Garth, thank you. We're seeing those past events, it goes from being like whatever, unstylized movie to all of a sudden it's a fucking Spielberg movie. Like,
yes,
everything, with maybe a little touch of Tex Avery in there, in some parts.
Really, I so much about the way, because when Garth is telling Walter the story, he's not telling the story as it directly happened.
Yes.
Like, the way that it's shot the way you would tell a story to a child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it, like, I personally thought that was truly brilliant.
And you find yourself constantly going like, okay, this is an old man telling a bedtime story to his granduncle, or grandnephew. Like, how much of this is bullshit? Because it all sounds like bullshit, but also at the same time, it's like, clearly there's some truth there, because we know Jasmine is a real person. We know that they really
did disappear. Find out in the very following scene.
Right, we do find out that, and it play when we see him sleepwalking, he's clearly in a sword fight, so clearly that shit really happened, but it's like a freaking, like, sultan and his harem, like, come on. But then we find out later on, no, that shit's true too.
Yep, I love that. Yes. So, like I said, we find out that Jasmine is a real person, but we see her before we ever even find out about her at all.
Yeah.
So he sees the chest and he's like, oh, they have millions, and he sees the chest and he goes into it. And here's my thing where I didn't know whether I loved this or hated this. The sheer amount of dust that was over that was like an inch thick. But
I think
they came from the desert.
Right. I think that was supposed to be sand. Yeah. And I was wondering that same thing, because it is kind of a trope where there are all these movies where, like, especially kids treasure hunt movies almost always involve opening something and having to dig the sand out of whatever's in there before to get at it. It's even in, Raiders of the Lost Ark. They had to dig the sand out to actually get to the tablets, Right. And so I've often wondered, like, how much granted, I've never traveled through the desert, but I've also wondered, like, was this like a packing thing? Like, before packing peanuts were invented, did they just throw sand in there? Is that what that is? Because it seems like a really, really constant trope you see where someone's having to dig through sand in a container.
It is such a constant trope that even when I go back, like, because it was years in between when I closed my military tote and then I opened it again. I expected dust. Everything in there was so damn clean. There was nothing, not a speck of dust. It was like I just closed it 5 minutes ago. So maybe chests have just gotten better? I don't know, but it was fun. But when he goes and he opens that chest and he finds that picture of Jasmine, that is the first true example of Patrick Doyle's score coming to life. And it pulls you right in. And
absolutely,
man, beautiful.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, but yeah, it's like literally like between the music and the reveal of the picture, first a little bit, because he brushes the sand away a little bit, sees her face, and then pulls the rest of the picture out all at once. Fuck me if we didn't all fall in love with Jasmine right the fuck there. Like,
I'm going to completely agree with you, and I'm gonna one up you because again, I gotta stop this. But another thing, like Supernatural has so many seasons. Pretty much every actor that was big was in it.
everything eventually leads back to Supernatural.
Pretty much. Do you know what episode she was in? It's one
No.
of the best and most memorable episodes of the entire show.
Which one was it?
She plays Madison in the episode Heart, that the first werewolf. When
Oh wow.
that reaction, yes, that episode is one of that is
Well, in that
top
case,
tier- top
she's
tier
criminally underused in this movie. If that's who that is, wow.
yeah, she is beautiful. She is tremendously talented. Her on-screen presence is, I mean, this whole movie, she doesn't say a single word, and I can remember every single thing that she was in. And it is not just because of how beautiful she is.
No, of course.
Although
Yeah.
that really does help.
And she kind of sort of looks like Liv Tyler. Like when they first moved it away before we got a full look at the picture, when it was he first thumbed the sand off just her face. My first thought was, is that Liv Tyler? No, this is she'd be way too young for this movie. Yeah,
I did not see that at all, but also incorrect.
It was a fleeting second. Yeah,
Incorrect, because this was after Armageddon.
you're right. It was. Oh, okay.
So it could have been like
it
in
could
a
have been,
different.
yeah.
But thank God they didn't choose the mega whitest person in America to play an Egyptian or North African.
It wouldn't have been the first time.
It really wouldn't. But at the same time, I mean, the number one most beloved movie about Egypt or pyramids or mummies is The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, and there is not one black person in that entire movie.
Oh.
Not even the extras. Everybody is just tan people. I don't think that I can't in my mind right
It's
now
been
think
too
about the
long.
movie. I cannot think of a single black character in that movie.
Neither can I, but I have not watched The Mummy since it right first came out. So
I'm not going to say that all Egyptians are actually are black, but I will say that
there
they
should
are,
have been more than zero for sure. Yes.
If I was in that movie, I would have been the darkest person in that movie. That is not right. That is it should have been darker than that. For the love of God, at least the actual Egyptian people. Funny thing. Okay, actually, I want to get to this first. So when he brings out that picture, that moment on screen, as soon as we see Jasmine, that is the first time that we see Hub in his PTSD flashbacks.
Right.
Now,
Sleepwalking.
yeah. But at the same time, so one of the things, the original ending to this movie actually had them going in the plane and making that decision because Hub was dying because of pneumonia, because of sleepwalking and going out all those years.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But they cut that. And
all right.
I disagreed with them cutting it, and I heavily disagreed with giving that small child the final line. I really didn't like that.
Yeah, no, was that kid not in the original ending?
I don't think he was.
Okay.
Because I remember going back and watching. So the
Well, no,
original ending, the Sultan actually comes back.
He didn't get the final line. He got the second to final line.
He should not have had a line. He shouldn't have. I'm sorry. I'm sure. I don't know if the kid grew up and became a better actor or anything like that. That was too much.
Right.
That was where it became too much. What was going on between the two grandchildren, or the son or the grandchild and the grandnephew,
yeah.
That should have been their moment.
No, I agree. You're right.
Just the two of them realizing this was real. End of the movie. I'm like, what am I doing?
But I mean, it was an interesting lead-in. The final line was, "They really lived."
They really did live. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's not the worst way to go about it. Maybe if they had taken time, they could have something them. But I was okay with it. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought the kid could have, maybe another couple takes with the kid's line delivery could have helped. But I mean, I didn't have a problem with it myself.
nitpicking. Every once in a while, I got it. And when a movie is this good,
it's tough. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's kind of tough, and if like that, because that is the only thing. This whole movie, that's the only thing. That is a really incredible mark for me. So one of the quizzes that I put up for this week on the channel was I put up 4 options, and I had the people guess which animal attacked Haley Joel Osment. Was it the dog, the chicken, the lion, or the pig? What do you think it was?
Like attacked him in the movie or in real life?
In real life.
I'm going to say the pig.
It was the pig.
Yep.
Everybody was prepared for the lion. Everybody was prepared for the lion. Nobody was ready for the pig to do anything, and that's why when the pig like comes up to Haley Joel Osment, he's like, "Good dog," and he's like all scared of the pig. He's legitimately scared of it because just before that he got attacked.
Pigs are fucking psycho.
That is true. That is true. Most people don't realize that, but pigs, you want to get rid of a body, toss it in with the pigs. They are,
yes.
Yeah, it is nuts. But there is a really funny outtake of the crew trying, because you saw that shot where the chicken is standing on top of the pig.
Right, yes.
Not CG. That actually, like, there's like a bunch
Impressive,
of bunch of outtakes of them trying to get that chicken on the pig and to stay there. But
nice.
That was a really great, like, for how much work they put into that, it was totally worth it, because you had the chicken on top of the pig, and Haley Joel looked down at his plate and he had eggs over sausage. Hilarious. Like, because especially if you're hanging out with somebody and you live on a farm and you have somebody who's never been on a farm come out there, their reactions to all that stuff, it's like, this doesn't come out of a chicken's butt. This comes from the grocery store. It's like, there's a couple steps before that, buddy.
My food comes from a magical food factory where no one is ever sad. What?
I have a note here that just says, "Where were you?" Oh, Jesus. So so Haley Joel...
You gotta be careful with that. I thought I had lost connection there because you had stopped talking and stopped moving, and I'm sitting here going like, God damn it, not again. Like, no, stay in motion.
Such a strong track. Yes, okay, fair. So when Haley Joel, he looks at me, he's like, and he just cuts right to it. He's like, "So, you guys were gone for 40 whole years. Where were you?" And Michael Caine, like Garth, he's going right into it. He's like, we bounced around Africa, we hit this. And he just has no problem going into the story. But Duvall definitely does. Hub steps up, he's like, nobody wants to hear a couple old farts talk about stories, like it's just pathetic. And then we get the first purchase. And when you realized who that was, right? Who came up and actually made the first purchase?
Oh, the skeet shooter salesman?
Yeah.
That was Nathan Petrelli.
That was Nathan damn Petrelli.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love, like, as soon as I was watching that, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize he was in this, because probably the last time I saw this movie was before I watched Heroes.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's been a while. Then, like, just the family showing up, that just horrible family. They're showing up and just being all nice to the uncles. They leave, and like, the one uncle is just constantly with the finger.
God,
I know what you're up to.
And they show up too with the like straight up like, "Hey uncles, we're here to stay for the weekend," and like okay, I get that, you know.
Yeah, you really understand the shotguns, huh?
and that's like one of those things where I'm sitting here going like, oh, okay, I realize that Texas families are different from my family, but if anyone from my family ever just showed up out of the blue and said, "We're here for the weekend," that's when I would pull the shotgun.
See, I have a few family members that just keep telling me, like, if you ever want to do this, just pop into town, anything like that, you're more than welcome. Like, you say that.
Right, yeah. We all know that's not true, yeah.
I don't think that's one of those things that, like, a family member can say that, but it's like, you can never test that.
Yeah, I mean, my home has been open to family before. I've had cousins that come to Portland for concerts all the time, and they are always welcome, just so long as they call ahead. I mean, my God, that's all I ask, and they respect that rule. They have
That is good.
They've never put me in a position to have to say otherwise.
That's really good, man. That really is. Yeah, like, so when you get like family members like that show up, they're just all about the money, all grubbing everything for it, and oh man, that one uncle, whatever, like, yeah, the whole movie, I just want, like, every time that he showed up, I just wanted to punch him.
Yeah.
But I loved this moment. So, like, there were little signs and little hints that the movie brought in for Haley Joel, or for Walter and Hub to bond. And the first one was when when Walter kicks that pointy uncle and then runs off.
Yeah.
And then you just see, like, the smile break across Hub's face, and I'm like, yeah, he likes there's a little fight in that guy. He likes that. Yeah. Holy freaking crap, though. His courage that, like, he shows in Hub, and then when he sprints out that front door, I thought that shot was never going to end. Like, that was his Tom Cruise moment right there.
Right, yeah. Just keep running, kid. Keep running until we tell you to stop. And that's exactly what he did, yeah.
And I don't think he ever, like, so what I'm guessing is they told him, like, you're going to run out here and you just keep running until you are all the way out of breath. And then we're just going to let the camera roll until you stop. Right. And then he just never ran out of breath.
Right, yeah.
But I gotta say, like, as I was watching that, I was just like, holy shit. And then it kept going like 10 more seconds. I was like, holy shit. Like, what? Haley Joel, how did you get chubby, man? Like, I've never had that capability to sprint that long at any point in my life. If I did that when I was 14, I'd probably still be sore today.
You know, we can surprise you. We can surprise you. Some of us big dudes, we got like the quarter horsepower. You know, we can go super fast for a short amount of time, and surprise. You know, I actually did that once. I literally, like, a friend of mine who was like, he wasn't like an athlete, but he was like, if you look at the two of us, people would look at him and go, well, that dude's clearly in better shape. And he was, like, basically giving me shit about my health. You know, I was, you know, eating poorly and smoking at the time. And I've just kind of, like, you know, because I'm a dick, I'd be like, I bet I could beat you in a foot race. And he goes, you're on, and bolts. And I beat him in a foot race. So, you know, he never gave me shit about it again after that.
Well, yeah, because I don't know how thick you were at that time or how fit the other dude was. But if you're sitting there being all cocky and everything, that's basically the same as a tough guy coming up saying that women can't fight and then jumping in the ring and getting his ass rocked by some girl.
Right.
Like, yeah, he ain't gonna talk about that again. Like, no, I get that. Dude, this scene when he calls Vegas and he calls the court reporter school. And he's going through and he's trying to find his mom and he's going through all of her aliases and all this.
Yeah, that's a shocker, man. Yeah, like that was like we already knew that she was kind of lame and kind of, you know, slimy because she's like, I'm gonna leave you with your rich uncle. See if you can find the money. Like, already we're like, she ain't cool. But now we're finding out
all these aliases.
Yeah, first of all, she straight up lied about the school to begin with, and yeah, all those aliases that he knows off the top of his head. So it's like, oh wow,
that's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, and then to top it off with one scene later, why did he bolt? Because he heard orphanage in the conversation, and he's like, I've been to the orphan home before, and it's like. It's literally like, boom, in the face, boom, in the face, boom, in the gut. Like, oh my God, this kid has really been through so much shit we did not know. You know, like, we were just sitting here going like, it's goofy that this poor soft city kid's been hanging out with these two old Leathermen, you know. But no, it's like, it goes so much deeper. This kid needs a man in his life. Let's say it, you know?
Just put it out like that. Yeah. I mean, kind of. But, okay, this scene I loved where you had Mr. Pointy Uncle and he's like, why do you gotta drive? It's my car. And then Robert Duvall's just, shut up. Yeah. I loved that. I love that dynamic between those guys. Like, that was too good for me. But when Caine reaches the point of making a vet, this is what I love. This is something that was really powerful, and I think that you need powerhouse actors to sell moments like this. Garth tells Hub to get out of the car, and then he's like, "No, stay here." Michael Caine comes in, and is like, and the way he looks at him, he doesn't say like, "Get out of the car now, get out of the damn car," and like that. He's just, "Get out of the car," and then like Hub is like, "Okay." Like,
because Garth somehow understands exactly what's going on, and he's like, "No, we need to both let this kid know that he's welcome. This is not a half and half thing. This has to be both of us." Yeah.
What happens in that conversation while he's sitting down there is like, I think is the thing that makes him welcome in Hub's eyes. But the thing between Garth and Hub, where Garth actually gives him an order, that never happens. Like, in my mind, what I was thinking is like, okay, that's like, you got the person, he's a pushover like that. When that person actually stands up and puts their foot down, you've gone too far. Yeah. That's what the moment felt like for me, is like, yeah, Hub he's I'll do whatever, shut up, I'll do whatever I want. But when Garth drops that tone, like, that was the thing, like, it made Robert Duvall look like a 5-year-old being scolded. That was a great, like, just so much power in just those two looks. Like, there's a reason why these two are who they are.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I really give them that. But then while Walter is sitting there, he's like, area code 406, gonna go to Montana. He's not, will you help me? Will you set me up? Will you do this? Like, Hub is getting all the respect for this kid right here. He's like, I've been here before. I'm not going back. If it's if it's up to me, then it's on me. And he never backs down. And like, I think that like that gave him a lot of respect from Hub. And I think that like in that conversation, and then when the pointy uncle in the car starts honking, he's like, well, it pisses off the family members, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Which, we find, on multiple occasions, Hub is down for anything that annoys those folks, but also like, and Garth, Michael Caine, this is the moment where he's even seeing some of Hub in this kid, and he's like, oh, okay, I see. Telling you to come home isn't going to work. Asking you to help me out by coming home, that's what's going to work. That's what'll get, because that's Hub's thing too. Hub, yeah.
Like, I really did. I really bought it. I had no problem with it at any point. I loved watching them spoil Walter to piss off the rest of the family. Like, just sitting there watching him chug down that root beer and everything, and the whole family's just sitting there all parched.
Root beer, boy.
Yep, I love that. Also, but then this is when Adrian Pasdar shows up,
right?
And I love like how happy Michael Caine was. He's like, oh, this one's been here before. He's like, this guy's good. Like, how happy he was with that was so. Dude, I got so much joy watching this movie, just watching them be joyful. Like,
yeah.
God, they're so good. I literally wrote that. This guy is good. The joy in Caine is contagious.
Yep.
Just so good. Then we go through the whole scene. The family's like, well, with all the guns and all this and all the shooting, we're not going to stay around here. Well, then leave. Like, perfect.
Yep.
Then Walter, like, back out to Hub out by the pond again in his flashback, and Walter's going to wake him up, but then Garth comes up and stops him.
Right. And
then this is really where the movie starts. The movie's been enjoyable up until this point. This is where it really begins.
Yep. Now we get the story of just who Hub really is, and this is like. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is like, you don't know how much of this is bedtime story and how much of it is reality, because it's presented to us as a child's fairy tale filmed by Steven Spielberg. But like, yeah, and it was like a whole other movie. It was like a second movie stuck in there.
With Michael Caine narrating in a Texan accent.
Right, yeah, which somehow worked so well. But yeah, it was like an episode of Young Indiana Jones in a lot of ways. Very much so. And they get shanghaied. Well, and the interesting thing too is like even how like right off the bat, like you have that sort of like because they get kidnapped and forced to join the French Foreign Legion.
Yep. So summer of 1914, touring Europe, one step ahead of the Germans. They got shanghaied. Real quick though, when Garth gets caught off guard from his own thought, and he almost tells Walter the story of the two twins that they met.
Yes, yeah, no, that was a good little bit. He was like, yeah, France was great. There were these twins, and he's like, it stops for a second and goes like, this is a child. I'm talking to a child.
Now, like that pause too,
and like you can even sit there going like, is there any part of that story I can tell him? Nope. Moving on.
and just right through it. I thought that was just, but also
I felt that too. I've had moments like that with my kids too. It was like, how do you know her? Oh, well, we met in the. None of your business.
Yeah. Okay. But so this is where we told a story, or I told a story either last episode or the episode before about Christian Caine and how he had me kicked off set. This is where the heartbreak of that story began. Christian Caine and played young Hub in this movie, and the montage of him being a bit of a badass in North Africa and all of this, watching the sword fighting, watching all that. Like,
it was an episode of Librarians, is what it was.
Pretty much. Like, this is how he got that show. I'm fairly certain.
Yep.
Leverage, all of it. Like, really. Yep. But it's because he did a really good job.
That's the thing, yeah. I mean, he clearly was kind of born for that kind of role, obviously. He had it. Yeah. He's got the physique for it. He's got the face for it. He's got the demeanor for it. And he clearly loves every second of doing it. So, you can't blame him.
No, I can't. And I can't blame them for casting him. Like, he did good. He did a good job. He played completely well. It was funny when he was supposed to be. All of it. Like, the talent level, that's the reason. Like, the reason why that story bothered me as much as it did is because I actually, this was a dude that a lot of people don't even know. A lot of people have no idea who he is. They've never seen any show that he's in. They have no idea. Like, you say his name, they're not going to know. Right. I actually knew who he was. I was looking forward to meeting him. I was looking forward to meeting him before I even knew he was in Portland at the same time as me. I was even unaware of Leverage before I moved there.
Okay.
So, winding up on set with him was just should have been a very happy accident that went really amazing. Or at least not shitty. But instead, this guy that I've been, wanting to potentially work with for years...
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Yeah,
yeah.
It wasn't just a bad experience. It was genuinely heartbreaking. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was, and that's the thing that sucks because it wasn't like some big shot, superstar or anything like that that you kind of expect to be like that.
Right.
That it's like this guy can't go out of his home without being hassled or anything like that. No, nobody knows who this guy is.
Right.
So he doesn't have that.
He's probably still doing fine walking around Portland without being hassled.
Probably. I mean, whatever. Hub snapping out of it right as we getting the introduction to Jasmine, and then he starts chopping him down. He's like, "What's wrong with you guys being out here?" And the blank stares they both give him, and he's like, he walks inside. Yeah. Beautiful. I
do want to comment though what I found interesting, and I think, and I'm wondering if there, again, this kind of goes with the whole this was very Spielbergian, and Spielberg of course took a lot of his influence from the 5-minute adventure serials of the 1920s and stuff like that, and so I'm sure that that was probably the same thing that was taken into mind here. They're probably because of course that would have been just the kind of movies that Garth was into if he with his influence. But one of the things that really jumped out at me was how he goes from being a World War I French Foreign Legion soldier to a bounty hunter breaking up the African Egyptian slave trade. And I'm like, Jesus, they could not have like deified this guy more. Like that's where where you gotta sit there and go, he was running around Egypt freeing slaves, and he's not got a statue of him somewhere. Like, what the fuck? Like, why is he rotting in this house in Texas right now? Like, it's like where you really got to go. Like, what happened? That's where you really start to ask, what happened? And it does kind of make it doubly frustrating when Hub wakes up and interrupts the story and is like, "What are you doing out here?" You know. And that's where you're like, no, the story was just getting good. Go back to sleep.
I thought the way that they did that, like usually when you do flashbacks, 2 stories in one, it is a bit of a challenge. The way they did this was perfect.
No, it was really well put together, especially how they trailed the story out to in 3 different aspects, and you know, and they've even got reasons like, yeah, we gotta stop here. We got, you know, very very Princess Bridey kind of way, like, you know.
Yeah, very. I'll definitely agree with that. It's yeah, nice, good one on that.
There you go.
Them farming and then Walter trying Chew. That
That's good. Yeah. You gotta wonder, did they really give him the chew? Because that was a wildly authentic reaction.
I'm going to guess they actually did. Because watching that reaction, because that was like how guttural he was with that. It's like, okay, 1, I think they actually gave him chew. 2, I think he swallowed.
Oh God, yeah, it did seem like that, didn't it?
That's what it seemed like. Yep.
Oh wow.
Because I've been there, I've seen it. That's what it looked like. Then we get the letter. One that was super funny scene. I really enjoyed that. Then we get the letter that his mother sends, and you start reading it out that, but he drops it, and then he looks at the postage that it's coming from Vegas. And he's just, he doesn't care the letter, anything like that, nothing.
Right, he knows it's just full of lies, full of more lies. He doesn't even bother reading it. Yeah, no, and that's, so freaking sad. Yep.
Watching Garth and Hub walk out of that house playing dress up like the farmers and the overalls, everything I loved it.
That's another great, and that's a Garth thing too. Like, we get that a lot from Garth. Like, when even like in the beginning when they start the thing, and he's like, "We're retired people farm," and then we get the overalls. He's like, this is what we're supposed to wear as farmers.
This is what farmers wear.
Right, and it's like it just kind of goes further and further. Like, Garth really genuinely, his entire worldview is based on the freaking movies, obviously. Like, it bleeds into everything, and that just that even further kind of feeds into your misconception that the stories he's telling about Hub may all be made up, because this dude's whole concept of reality is based on the adventure serials that he saw in the movies. You know, it does
play that way.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, every time you find out what parts of the story are true, you're just doubly shocked. You're just like, oh my God, Garth wasn't full of shit? What?
I am really, okay, yes, yes, all the way with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
The scene with the farming, I'm really, really glad that they included a scene where they got had.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, traveling salesman, we just trusted them all, and they all did. It's like, no, that's not how that went. And I'm glad that they actually wound up with an entire garden full of just corn, and how that went down and what that fed into. It all meshed so well.
Yeah, this was a very well knit together story, to such a degree that, like, especially after, like, when we get to the end and we see all, you know, that Walter's grown up to be a cartoonist, and all of his cartoons that we see on the wall are clearly just a takeoff Calvin and Hobbes. They're clearly saying Walter grew up to be Bill Watterson. There was a part of me that literally went, wait a second, is this Bill Watterson's actual autobiography?
I had that thought too. I actually did, a long time ago. Yeah, I remember having that thought.
But yeah, I couldn't find anything that said if it was or it wasn't. But it was
okay, because I didn't look into it, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah, but yeah, the way everything kind of ties into itself has very, like, somebody lived through this, because it all worked together way too perfectly, you know, for it to not be based off of some kind of experience. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not really all in one summer like it took place in the movie. But somebody really did get conned and planted the whole thing of
what I think they could have and potentially should have done is they should have made this a couple-year movie.
Yeah.
They should, like, if they had the capability, they should have introduced just one winter scene, because Haley Joel was going through puberty at this point, and he was coming of age, and he did. They shot the movie.
He did kind of grow a bit, didn't he? Yeah,
a lot. Like, he grew a lot from the first scene to the ending. Like, they shot the movie in order because he was growing so fast.
Okay, I'm glad they saw that coming at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so if they would have included a winter scene, it could have established a lot more time with these characters. And because of how much he grew, this would have been one of the only movies that it actually would have visually made sense to do that.
True. I think that would have been difficult because then they would have had to introduce. School. They would have had to talk about what's going on with school. Why isn't he in school? And I'm sure that would have been interesting. I mean, I would love to have seen a scene where a truant officer shows up and gets the salesman treatment. I mean, sure.
Oh, that would make sense. I would have loved to have seen Garth and Hub at a PTA meeting. There are a lot of scenes that would have gone with that, which is great. Here we get the intro to the lion, and the approach with the giraffe just coming up looking like a safari.
Beautiful shot. Oh my God.
Really was. The music that went with
the cinematographer on that one really nailed it.
Really, really did. And then right out of the farmer get up, into the house, coming out in the safari outfits. Like, the one question I wish I would have had answered is I wish I could have seen into Garth's closet. Because you just had to look
they missed an opportunity for Garth to say, "We're hunting. This is what hunters wear."
That would have been but when they bust the lion out and they open the door and you just get this what's supposed to be an old lion, but the reality is this lion was only 2 years old. Like this was a baby, but I mean, nobody knows the difference between an old and a young lion, so why not do it? And I love the way Michael Caine went. That's like, this lion's no good. It's defective. Oh my God! I almost fell off the couch laughing, dude. Like how simple this dialogue was, but how perfect it was in every situation. It was incredible. Yeah. When Walter says what he named the lion.
Yeah. Wow. Damn, you stepped in it, kid.
Mistake.
Yep.
Yeah. And he really should have.
You gave away so many games right there. Like I'm surprised Garth didn't whip around and slap the kid. like if he finds out I've been talking to you, we're both dead. Like
what? Okay, I'll give you that. They go to pick up the lion's food, and this was just one of those things kind of showing how tough Hub is.
Yeah, but also leads into the next scene. But here's the thing. This is the first thing that threw me. I actually paused the movie right there and immediately went to Google to find out if Purina lion chow is a real thing.
Is it?
It is.
Oh my God.
Yes. In fact, Purina makes an alarming number of animal chows specifically for zoos, and lion chow is one of them. Yes.
That is crazy. That is awesome that is accurate.
Yep.
So what I was saying, like on this scene though, with the Purina lion chow, awesome that it's a real thing. There's like, oh, these are 50 pounds and all that, and then you have Robert Duvall just goes over and he yanks him off from like that and then tosses him down. So it was a scene to show how tough Hub is.
How tough he was, yeah. And then it's even followed up where it's like the next bag they're taking off. Michael Caine and Haley Joel Osment. It takes two of them working together to get the next bag in, and they kind of like really example like. Yeah, no. Hub's the tank. That's for clear. That's clearly illustrated right there. Yeah.
Then he goes down with that heart attack, and I'm sorry, but Joe Harvey Allen gossiping about them being mafia hitmen. Careful. I'm sorry. That I never stopped. There was like every few minutes I just fell in love with this movie all over again. Like it never stopped. But then we get the story picking back up because they're just sitting in the hospital, kind of in a waiting room situation, and we get
that's when Walter goes like, yeah, and that's when that's when Walter goes like, all right, so on the off chance that Hub's about to die, finish your story.
So what happened next?
Yeah.
And Emmanuelle Vagier's intro and the horse race. Honestly, that horse race was shot very, very well. So they went into the water, and as soon as the water got resistant enough and it made a horse stumble a little bit, they cut. And then they cut to the scene where they looked at them launching off. I went back to watch that a couple times, but that horse did not actually fall. It just stumbled when it went into the water and got that resistance. So they planned that out to be done.
Found
that
the
well.
right spot.
Very good.
Yeah, found the right spot. Yep. No, it was very well. I noticed that too.
Yeah, I thought that was very well edited, and I really, really enjoyed that. Why did I write it like this? Hub in lub.
I mean, that's about right. That it fits. I can see.
Is that I'm just looking at? Is that a typo or was I?
No, because when they get to that scene, because you even have Garth kind of narrating it. He was like, it was love. It was true love at first sight, and it's like you can see that you've got Christian Kane there looking dumbfounded, and he's just like, oh, like you can almost see the like Tex Avery like boing kind of thing going on behind his eyes,
And then go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. And then Garth goes into talking about the Sheik kidnapped her, and then she's going to herself. And I'm sorry, this was, again, like, if I had to choose a favorite moment in this movie, I don't know if I could, but this might be it. He comes in there, and you have the full harem of women, and you got, like, 3 rows, and they all just, like, he comes in, he looks, he's like, huh, and all at the same time, huh.
Right, like, they all point, yeah.
That was so goofy and over the top, and
That's where I say it's like it was Spielberg meets Tex Avery in one. Those shouldn't blend, but they did in this movie. So
perfectly.
Wow.
So
wow.
Well.
How did they do that?
Yeah, and okay, married and then like and they lived and they got married and lived happily ever after. And then Walter's like, well then, where is she?
Right.
No kids. Like what? What are you talking about? There's no way the story ends that way. And yeah, so Walter completely calls him out, and the Hub throws a fit and launches the food tray, the bedpan out of the hospital. And whether this was scripted or not, how much Michael Caine broke and just busted out laughing while he was sitting on that bench.
Yeah.
You got to imagine Michael Caine and Robert Duvall, just 2 old Hollywood powerhouses that are still going and just sitting there, just cracking up and having a good time together.
Having the time of their lives playing these 2 dudes. Yeah.
Really, I mean, and like I said, I could have watched an entire freaking series about these 2 just going neck and neck like this.
100%. Yeah.
Oh god, and then the Ick family shows up and thinking he's dead, and like their weird little
trying really hard not to smile too broadly at the news, but not really succeeding at that. A good inclusion just because you need somebody to hate in this movie, because so far in this movie you love everybody. Like you need somebody to hate, and that was this entire family, which I was like, I definitely was past his age, but I don't know if your kids watched Phineas and Ferb. Oh, my kids saw Phineas. Yeah, my kids.
One like the older of those 2 boys in that family is the main voice from that show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so I thought that was a cool little one.
Yeah, well, like going back to it's interesting. We never really get clear on how they're related. We know they're relatives. The Ick family. We know they're relatives. We know, they know.
No
who he
idea
is.
how they're related.
Yeah, because when they show up, they're just like, oh, that's May's boy, and it's May's boy. They're like really shitty to him right from the get go. But yeah, it's never made clear like Is she one of their is she May's sister? Is he the family, or is she the family? Like, yeah, we don't know. All we know is that they are shitty relatives. We don't know how they're related.
That's all that mattered.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So the fight with Hub and these 4 young men.
Yeah.
Apparently, true story. So Michael Caine and Sean Connery were out at a club in Scotland, and Sean Connery took his hat off and handed it to Michael Caine, and Michael Caine just stood there holding Sean Connery's hat while Sean Connery tanked 4 guys at this club.
My God.
So apparently this is a true story that they just tossed in there.
Yeah, okay. I believe that. Sure.
But I love this scene, man. It was super enjoyable. Like the way it is, like, no, he's like, you gotta hold it like this. Like, he takes the knife from him and he shows, like, you gotta hold it like this. Smooth.
Right, yeah.
He's coaching him how to kill him and whooping his ass at the same time.
And the funny part, like, what really got me was the fact he literally tells the guy, he's like, no, if you're gonna come at someone, come at him like this. Hands him the knife, and then the guy comes at him exactly the way he showed him, and it's like, you idiots.
He was setting you completely up and you did it, yeah.
Yeah, like the guy you're fighting just told you what to do when you did it. What is wrong with you?
But when we were watching the paper, and I told you, like, that scene where he's like, hey, bang.
Oh,
like
right, yeah.
This is what was in my head. Like, this is because this movie was way after the paper, and Robert Duvall did a frickin' fight scene in this movie, so I didn't know what was coming in the paper, but I was really excited. I thought I was about to watch a Robert Duvall old man fight scene, because I've seen it before, and it's magical.
Oh, so you were hoping Robert Duvall was going to go toe-to-toe with Jason Alexander or something like that?
Would you not have loved to have seen that?
That probably would have been pretty epic, yeah.
It would have been great. However, it wouldn't have been as goofy as, like, the foot wrestling thing between Jason Alexander and Randy Quaid. It would have been something different. I'm glad that we got what we got. I'm so happy that this exists, though, because... And then he just steals their car and abducts them, which, oh my God. Okay. I need to
that he's a good soldier. All right. You take your prisoners of war and you take good care of them. This man understands good warfare. He beat them, and now he's responsible for them. That's how it works.
I should have wrote this line of dialogue down, but I didn't. But this is another one of those scenes that just explains why Robert Duvall has the position that he's in. Like, I'm Hub McCain, or whatever his name was, last name was, and he's like, I've traveled this world, I've fought in 2 world wars, and I've loved a woman with a ferocity that a flea like you could never understand.
That's a good line, yeah.
He doesn't blink one time in that whole speech. He is making the most intense eye contact with that kid, and... damn.
Yeah.
Like, I was ripped. Like, I was my back was not touching that couch. I was edge of the seat. I was watching that. I was right there with him, because that is powerhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, it
for sure.
Really, like, I just, wow. And then when he pumps him back, and then Garth comes back in with the shotgun, he's like, you boys got all that testosterone. It's going to mix you up in a bunch of trouble. Michael Caine is a Texan.
Yeah.
Dude.
Right. Yeah. No, it was amazing. Yes. Who knew? Well,
I mean, honestly, is there anything that if Michael Caine is on set and he does something, there's no surprise. It's just enjoyable to see it because it's Michael Caine.
That is true.
I mean, the Ick family showing back up, and the lions escape. Like, those boys pull the lion out and do all that. And I loved that the little boys kept getting their butts whooped by the mom for lying about the lion.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that was a good one.
They had that shit coming. I mean, come on. I mean, how did this whole start?
Did.
How did this whole thing start? What's that? I don't know. Let's tear it apart. It's like, oh, God damn it. Yeah.
You don't do that at somebody else's house.
Yeah, I've had those little cousins before, and I've been like, you know what? I'm gonna leave this family gathering before I murder your son.
But I will say, this again, one of the best moments of the movie. Every single member of that family walking out of the house with a shotgun.
That was
plus the 4 boys that they picked up. This house that has 2 men in it somehow has enough shotguns to arm everybody. That is a Texas movie moment for sure.
And you got to be impressed too, like the four greaser teenagers who are there against their will, just got their ass kicked. When they hear there's a lion, grab the guns, they are immediately there. Like there's not even a question. They're just like, okay, yeah, we're gonna, yeah.
Which my mind, and I'm surprised that the movie didn't do this, they had the smell of meat over all of their faces, and so I thought that was gonna lead into something. It just didn't.
Right. Well, there was a deleted scene there, obviously.
Oh, I thought you knew, but I didn't catch that. What do you mean?
Okay, so after they go into the corn patch and find the kid, and he's just like, hey, she's gotten better, she's healthy, she's happy, you know. And he's playing with the lion, and everybody's like, oh, okay, we don't have to shoot the lion. The very next scene, as they're leaving the corn patch, the 2 of the greaser guys are carrying the shitty wife out, and she looks all disheveled, like she just wrestled with something. Yeah. So something happened in between there that they decided to cut for some reason. I don't know what. Clearly it wasn't that important because they cut it in an otherwise perfect movie. So I figure whatever it was probably her trying to do some shitty thing and getting her ass handed to her, probably by the lion.
I could see that.
Yeah.
This is a moment that just felt like tremendous character growth. Hub asking Walter if he's happy. Just him asking the boy, are you happy? Like, the fact that he cared to ask that was the most character growth, and you didn't even have to make a giant example out of it. You didn't have to showcase it or anything like that. It was just, are you happy? Yeah. And the happiness was shared. Dude, there was a portion of this movie I just couldn't stop crying. Every time that I stopped crying, something else happened to kick it right back up.
Okay.
Like it really got me. This was a big one. Walter asking if Hub will give him the "what it takes to be a man" speech. Mm-hmm. And then that line of this whole speech, but specifically the sentiment that it doesn't matter if something is true or not. It's important that a man believes in something. And the 2, maybe 3 examples, if I can remember them, that were perfect. True love exists.
Right.
Money and power don't mean a thing.
Right.
Like, and good triumphs over evil. It doesn't matter if those are true or not. It's important that we believe in them.
Yep. That was a really, really good. There was a part of me that almost, I didn't, but I'm probably going to go back and do it later. There was a part of me that almost paused the movie and rewound it so that I could write that exact speech down. You know,
it was a good speech.
It was a really good. You know, probably going to make it into a cross stitch is what I was thinking, because it's like it was a really, you know, something that, you know, something to believe in. A man has to have something to believe in that is good. You know, and those are. And speaking as someone who is not a man of faith, I do actually, I find myself often having to put my faith in things like people are, on a whole, generally good. It is that faith is tested quite a bit, but
I'll agree with that.
I hold on to it, and you know, maybe half the time I'm proven right, and that's worth it to me. You know. Because I have had my cynical years. I had my cynical years, and when I look back on it, I don't like who I was during that time. So I prefer being optimistic. It makes me a better person, and so
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. I'm a little pessimistic in my life currently, and I don't really like my outlook on life on that one. So I can see that. Trying to dig, jumping in on the art, pushing things, continuing like I'm looking for my optimism again. I'm just saying that currently
we all go through those phases.
It's a little tougher to find it.
That's true.
And
yes.
that is like in life that just happens. Sometimes you run into that. You just got to push through and try to get to the other side.
And I think that's kind of like one of the reasons, especially like a movie like this, how that can resonate, because it's one of those things where it's like what he was saying is something we all kind of innately know, sort of. Maybe not but there's.
But it's important to put it to words.
Exactly, yeah, and especially when you are in. Well, actually, no. There's no especially. It is kind of across the board. Whether you are in your cynical phase of life and need to hear that to be reminded of it, or even when you're in your optimistic phase of life and you find it is sometimes difficult to stay there, you need to hear that to remember why you prefer to feel that way, and I think. Yeah, I think honestly, like for all the good things about this movie, for all the reasons why I would recommend this movie to someone, that speech that he gives at that moment, I think is the important part. And especially coming from that character. That speech has the weight that it has because it is coming from a character like Hub, whom you are intimately familiar with at this point because you've seen who he is now. Big, gruff, tough dude who gets in fights.
But we also found the real ending to the story.
And we find the real ending to the story. That's true, yeah. Where he loses her and
lost his love and childbirth.
And then basically just turns around and goes back to war is the only thing he knows how to do after that. And so it's like this is not what you would call a pansy dude in any way, shape, or form. This is the most manly of men that has been on film since Indiana Jones. I mean, that's basically who he is. And to hear him say that, no, a real man needs to believe in good things and not
the toughest, baddest motherfucker that has walked like 2 world wars and all this, and still sitting out there talking about true love.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it is wildly, wildly important. And I think that's the thing. It's like beyond this movie being entertaining, I think that's the scene that makes this movie important. That's the reason why And I
got one more for it too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
But when Garth goes in, I'll get to that important moment, but there is a huge, huge moment, and it's one of the almost final moments of the film.
Okay.
I loved this though. When Michael Caine comes in and he's like, and Hub and I, like, we went through and Hub was in chains and I took out all of these men, and like he told a story. Right. And then when Walter comes back and like just like, you took withholding all that gold. Right. And how he's like, you don't believe that I took out all those men and saved Uncle Hub? Like,
yeah. Well, and that's great too, because then he even backtracks and he's like, okay, so maybe Hub helped a little, and then, but that kind of like adds to, like I was saying before, this whole time you're wondering how much of this story is bullshit because it, and then in this scene, Haley Joel Osment catches him in a lie and he backtracks, and so now you're really thinking how much of this story is bullshit. And then continue.
Yep. Okay. Now this Christian Caine's line, only line in the entire movie.
Which he doesn't even say. He gets ADR'd.
Is that ADR?
That's Michael Caine's voice coming out of his mouth when he says it. Yes. He lip syncs it.
I didn't notice that. Okay. My one good, like, big compliment for Christian Caine was good delivery on that line, but it wasn't even him.
No, yeah, he lip synced it. Yeah,
like, I'm trying here. I got some stuff together. I'm still trying to show him some love for the performance.
It was a smooth lip sync, if you didn't notice, so that's worth something.
So here is where, like, the first time watching it, I was like, okay, so this is a true story. The Sheik got oil rich, and Walter ain't cool with it. Because, like, that's how he was like, well, I'm just telling it how it happened. And then I was that was the moment I was like, you wouldn't have told it like that if it wasn't a true story. So, like, as the audience member, I was like, okay.
The first little drop of doubt of, wait a second, is none of this bullshit? Wait a second.
And then this is the moment where Garth says that you got to ask Hub for the rest of the story, and just Walter panics. He's like, "What?
Yeah.
Him?
Yeah.
Like that."
Did you see what happened when I just dropped the name Jasmine last week? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, like his fear, Haley Joel sold that fear and panic so well, and it's so very believable. And the whole thing about the lion finding a home in the corn, that was something that I really like. I forgot to speak to that, but I really like. Just,
It
I
was
don't know,
interesting.
the animal lover, the finding a
Yeah.
home aspect, whatever it was about that, I really thought that was beautiful.
I liked it too. I was kind of half and half on it because there was a part of my brain that was sitting there going like, wait, aren't lions supposed to be desert animals? But I'm like, no, wait, there are jungle lions too. There are two.
They're
there
jungle,
are,
they're safari, they're they're everywhere.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so
lions are
it was
much
just,
more across the board than we realize. Same as tigers.
right, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Like, and okay, so I don't know about this. Like, we have wild tigers in America, but I don't know if that's because they got away from the Tiger King or what happened there. Like,
That's a good question. I mean, those rumors of alligators in the sewers come from somewhere. So shit comes to America the same way people come to America.
I could buy that in the past. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Probably not anymore. No.
I mean,
And
you have too many filters and grates and stuff like
Right.
that. Like
They're
I don't think,
There probably never was, but it's kind of one of those things where like you can kind of see how the story would start because
I don't know,
we
man. I
do
mean, when they were
have.
building the sewer system in Florida and things like that, I mean,
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Well,
I could
and what
imagine some of the
gets me-
construction workers dealing with it.
Well, what always got me, what like really freaked me out was the first time I heard about freshwater sharks. Like the fact that there are sharks that can come inland through the rivers, that you could be hanging out in like Wyoming and there could be a shark infested like river that you're I was like, well, clearly I need to stay away from all water. Like I thought I was safe when, here in the, but
Well, that's why
no.
you just got to go with lakes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Where the piranhas are. Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. Piranha don't hurt that bad. Like
Not
that.
one, no, but if one ant stands up to us, they all might stand up to us.
Okay, fine. Yeah, no, I've been that dumb person that took the bet or took the dare and put my hand in a thing of ant, like fire ants. Yeah, no, it hurts. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Then we get the arrival of the plane. Garth knows what's happening. And he, like, you just see the depression. You see all of it just wear on
Yeah.
Michael Caine. And he turns around and is like, you better make it quick. Because I don't think he's going to be around for too much longer.
Right, yeah. He's like this is a guy who's been living with the fact that his not just brother but clearly his closest friend has been living with an actual death wish for a long time, and it's been been a lifetime dedication of his to keep that from coming to fruition. And the failure of that just showed up on your door in the form of a fucking biplane.
Yeah. Not. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Then we're out by the pond for the tragic ending of the story in the first part of the man speech, which we jumped ahead and we discussed. But man, really, just thinking about that speech, I'm getting goosebumps over here, man. Like it really was that good of a speech.
No, yeah.
Then Walter follows Garth and finds the money, suspects it's all been a lie, and just spends the entire day like they just showed a few cuts of the day of him just being awkward and afraid to ask.
Yeah, and that's the first big drop is the money is real. We still haven't confirmed where it came from, but the money is real, and there really is a lot of it. Like so much.
Yeah, like we were thinking maybe $1 million, but we looked there, you see like 20 million.
Yeah, in $1950. It's so
Which, I mean,
much.
come on. Cash doesn't appreciate or depreciate. Like, if you buy $20 million of gold in 1955, yeah, you're probably a billionaire now. But, no, if you have a $5 bill in 1955, that $5 bill is still worth $5.
And it looks like they got it all in. It's like they had like a couple $1 million in fives. It's like there was so much. There were literal, actual stacks of crates of cash. Like, it was an astounding amount of money, just sitting there and not well taken care of. Some of it was on the floor.
No, I was looking at that. I was like, okay, one flood and you're poor.
Yeah, and they're like, did a fight break out down there because like some of the boxes are broken and the money's just all over the place? Like what? Like,
good question.
Yeah, and then
go ahead.
But then, yeah, it's interesting because he does go down there and he looks at it, and then the dogs all come and stare down at him. Which, by the way, we haven't get enough credit to these dogs in this movie. These dogs were a class act. Every time the dogs showed up and they're all sitting there like in a row just watching what's happening, that made me laugh every time. Loved the dogs in this movie.
Also, when Kyra Sedgwick comes back at the very ending and the dog growling at her and she's like, "Don't be fresh," and the way that it drops its head. Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, Kyra Sedgwick, small role, but just chewing the scenery to absolute pieces every time she's on camera.
Being 100% Kyra Sedgwick, obviously, yes. But yeah, so he goes down there and, and he says to the dogs, "Does this look stolen to you?" Because even though that really wasn't like, because it was gold that they got from the Sultan, that, whatever you believe in that. But that's the thing, is he's looking at this and these are a bunch of boxes of cash that have bank stamps on them. And that's his first thought. He's thinking, they stole this money from somewhere, which
obviously if you come back with gold, you just go and sell it, and that's what happens. So of course you go to the bank, you're gonna have banknotes, the whole story makes sense, but also the doubt does too. So
exactly,
I thought that was good.
Very, very well done.
Then Kyra Sedgwick returns with Stan, played by Nicky Katt, looking for that money and ridiculously equipped with a full story, even an alternate version as to how Jasmine died.
Right, exactly, yeah.
This
is an accomplished con man right here. This is a guy who knows how to make up a story on the spot to get his money. Yeah.
But also, Nicky Katt's voice, the way that he came in and he did that voice, I'm stealing the shit out of that voice. "I'm telling you, kid, I'm in a bad way with some even worse people." That is a very stereotypical voice for that era, and I am practicing and stealing the shit out of it because it's wildly in my range. So
of course, yeah. I'm
gonna go ahead and thank Nicky Katt for that one.
Yeah.
Man, the score builds and Nicky Katt has Walter and he's like giving him that little, we're going for a man to man and all this, like to have a one-on-one conversation. The score builds, and then just defend yourself. So cheesy. So many goosebumps. This movie should not be this good. And it just... absolutely, absolutely. And then Stan gets got by Jasmine, which that double take wasn't even a full double take. It's like he's beating up the kid or whatever. He turns around. That is a great... the way that was done was great. I thought that was so funny. It was so well done. Okay, so Stan gets attacked by the lion, gets beat to pieces, everything like that. Then cutscene, comeback, funeral for the lion, and...
Which, props to not just, Garth you could expect, but the fact that Hub also put on a suit for this funeral. That... you talk about the character growth before of him saying to the kid, "Are you happy?" That just, even further the fact that he's there to pay his respects to the lion,
To the lion that saved his boy.
Exactly.
Because at this point in the movie, that is his boy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is, yes. It's so much so to, one of the best lines in the movie. You think she'll sell them to us? How much money we have? He's willing to give all his money, all of that, to get that kid back.
All the crates of the cash down there. Yep. He's like, look, if she was there to try to steal the money. How about we just give her the money in exchange for the kid? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was. But so these two things, this was kind of a double hammer for me. One, okay, well, actually, I want to talk about this first. When they come back and stands in that full body cast, and Hub comes in and like grabs his nose and all this.
Right. Yeah.
Every single thing that Hub did for Haley Joel, for Walter, like that is like, because I grew up without a dad. And that, like, so when you grow up without a dad, basically every representation of like the kind of man that you hope to one day be is the kind of man that you wish you were raised by. Hub.
Right, yeah.
That's the dude. That's the guy that I wish I had watching my six my whole childhood.
There you go.
Like,
Yep.
100%. But so I like that. But then, yeah, when he goes into that about, because he's like, yeah, I'm willing to give all my money to keep that kid here and make sure he's safe. That broke me. Then while they're driving away and the mother reveals that she's not going to leave Stan and all that, and then Walter tucks and rolls right out of the car.
Right, yeah.
Like, the thing that truly, absolutely, completely decimated me in this movie was Walter looking to her and just pleading, do something for me. And that crushed me. That crushed me in ways I can't even describe. Don't do something for me because you think it's going to look good when somebody else is looking at the situation. Don't do something for me because you think that it's going to make me happier about you. Do something for your child. Just for your child. Remove the ego. Remove anything. Be a parent.
Yeah.
And then she did.
Yep.
That. My heart on the floor, man. I was like that. That sailed me and crushed me, and I loved every single second of it. Wow. Oh yeah, I thought this was a bit of a dick move. To be honest, like Walter stole the picture of Jasmine.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember sitting there when he's packing up and he puts the picture of Jasmine in there. I remember sitting there going like, dude's straight up stealing his uncle's girlfriend. Like,
wait, yeah, what are you doing, man? Like, the guy's old. He might die soon. He might want to go back and look at a picture of her. Don't do that.
Right, yeah. But I also kind of get it too, because like I remember years ago cleaning out. My grandparents sold some of their property, and we had to like literally like clean a barn out to take all the shit out so that the new owners could come in. And I found a stash of nudie mags behind a workbench. I don't know if they belong to my grandfather. I don't know if they belong to my great grandfather. But they were mine after that day.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I never ran into any of those situations, but I probably would have done the same as a kid.
Yep.
Here was another moment that they didn't give much attention to. So you actually have to watch what Michael Caine does, because he doesn't have any moment in this scene. But when Haley Joel looks to Hub and says, I'll be back for the rest of the speech, and then Hub says, I'll be here, Michael Caine, as soon as Hub says, I'll be here, Michael Caine looks to him, and like, because that shocked him.
Right, yeah.
And that, you have to be paying attention to the actor's reaction, because that is what put that...
That's where the real like character stuff is, yeah.
Yeah. That... And then the final line, unless you count some laughing, but the final line from the old men is, what do you expect us to die of? Old age?
Right, like, yeah. Yep. Still what got me was when the kid comes walking, walking back, and he's got his, suitcase, and they're happy to see him, and it's all nice. I, at that moment, couldn't get over the fact, like, okay, I'm glad she let him go, but she fucking made him walk back. He walked back
I kind of took that as, he's like, okay, I'm done with you. Like, okay, you go, me and my new family. Like,
Okay, yeah,
that,
I mean, it probably could. He didn't look too upset about it when he
Not
showed
at
up,
all.
so maybe it was his idea. He was just like, "Look, this is goodbye. You can just keep going. I got it from here. I know the way back."
Yep.
I suppose that's possible, but still, like that kind of got me where I'm like, "All right, I know she hasn't exactly been number one mom all this time, but still, I mean, come on."
Okay, I do see where you're coming from,
Yeah.
but I felt it was powerful because he didn't need her. And
No, that's true.
And
That's a very good point.
And that was
Yeah.
the important part of that. Then we get to the true ending. Now, this is where it's a little bit debatable whether you like the original ending or the alternate ending. So the ending that they went with is the two old men, like Hub and Garth, they wind up flying into the barn that the money was hidden in upside down at 200 miles an hour.
Right.
Great way to die.
Sure, yeah.
Like, if you're
Yep.
old, great way to die.
If you had to choose, yeah, between that and pneumonia,
Yeah.
that's easy. Yeah, easy.
So that was the thing. Like, the ending that they went with, there was no mention over Robert Duvall having pneumonia and dying, and that why it happens.
Right.
The ending they chose, they're like, they were old and just decided to die today.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
They
They obviously had it planned because they wrote out
Yeah.
their will, like right before getting on the plane.
greatest will in the history of the legal system.
Right.
The kid gets everything. Just put us in the damn garden next to the stupid lion.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That is the best will that I have ever heard. Then we get this scene. So the original ending that they were going to go with is the Sheik is the one who comes back. There's no little kid. There's no grandson. There's none of that. The Sheik finds out that his old nemesis is dead, and he comes back to come to his funeral and show respect.
Which is exactly what I thought was going to happen when we saw the helicopter. When the helicopter, before we even saw the oil company logo on it, as soon as we hear helicopter noise, I was like, "Oh, this is it. This is where yeah."
But and see, so the helicopter is the thing that really bothered me the most because they flew in, they landed, and then he's like looking over, and then he sees the yacht in the pond. He's like he just saw it. It's like, dude, you just fucking flew over that. Like, so
I think
the
this
ending
was
that
pretty
they
well
chose,
rushed. Yeah. So this new
Yeah.
ending was probably a little rushed. Yeah.
that's what I'm going with. The new ending was rushed because that, like, in a movie that otherwise is perfect,
Right.
like too many mistakes and too short of a
So
session.
did they say why they changed the ending?
I did not find that. I
Okay.
probably should look into that next time.
Probably it was a test audience thing. It's usually test audiences that ruin it.
Yeah, that usually is the way that it goes, and probably with Walter being, because they even had the little kid. He was younger than any other kid in the entire movie.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
he was even younger than Walter when Walter was a kid. So if you wanted to have a kid come in and deliver that line, it should have been a kid right around 12 years old, the same age that Walter was. It would have connected better.
Sure. Yeah.
But also, just having the two young men,
right.
Eric Balflower,
The two
and
grandchildren,
Josh
yeah.
Lucas, just having them connecting on that and being like,
That
it
would have been
really
plenty. Yeah.
was real.
Yeah.
Like, that is the ending that I wanted. But I am still happy with the one that I got. Not super happy.
But it could have been better, but it wasn't
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, final thoughts on Secondhand Lions. Go ahead.
Final thoughts is it is a must see. Like, yeah, it's one. It is definitely for the reasons I said before. Just for Robert Duvall's a man's got to have something to believe in speech. That, I think, is an important message for any piece of art to have. I think every parent should show this movie to their kids 100%. Yeah, this is a family movie that should be in every family, and I don't say that lightly. I'm not usually a fan of quote unquote family movies,
but when they're perfect,
when it's like, it's a rare thing, but it happens, and this is one of them. So yeah, I would say this is, and not to mention the fact They just don't make movies like this anymore. This was a very simple human story. We don't get enough of those anymore. They used to make movies like this all the time. Like I said about like The Paper, the same thing. That was just a day in the life in America movie.
Yeah.
No end of the world scenario to contend with. Just a story about life that everyone can relate to and draw from in some degree. We don't get enough of those anymore. This is one of those movies, and beyond the business of it, I think is a staple of why the art of filmmaking exists and is important and has had such a strong role in not just American culture but world culture, because this is an example of what it can do even in its simplest form. It can give us a story like this that
and
can
send us into the world with a positive message and a philosophical understanding over
exactly. This is a movie that makes you
agreements.
Yeah, this is a movie that makes you feel better. That's one of the things that was perfect about it. It was like after slogging through and surviving eXistenZ.
Oh God.
This was like this was like the I like being alive again. Thank you.
So okay. I watched the opposite way. And I regret it. I really regret it. I wish I could have I should have ended the week on Secondhand Lions, but
yeah.
What's funny is when I went to go rent it through Amazon again.
Yeah.
Last time I watched it, I remember I was watching it and I was rewatching it because when I rented it before, I watched it like 3 times, and
Nice.
It was right in the middle of it, and it just cut because the watch period ended. So when I pressed play, I was right in the middle of the movie.
So it remembered. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a few years, yeah. All right. So, and I mean, obviously, I'm agreeing it's a must-see. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely put it up there. So, all right. We said, our taste is so wildly different that if we wound up on a movie that we both agreed it was a must-watch, it's gotta be good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, Secondhand Lions.
I tell you what was interesting. I forgot to I was going to comment on this earlier. I forgot to, but I was going to say I'm pretty sure last week's episode was the first time you and I have agreed on everything on both films. Neither one of us was just like, oh yeah, no, Encino Man's a great movie. It should be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, We didn't have a single movie fight last week. That's true.
No, yeah, we were right in line on every part of both what we liked and what we didn't like about both movies last week, and I think that's the first time that's happened.
I think today it happened again, but
yep.
In a very different way.
I think I'm only slightly more forgiving of Cronenberg than you are. I think that's the one place we were different, is that I gave Cronenberg a little bit more benefit of the doubt than you did, and I think that's the only difference we had there.
Maybe. I think you're a bigger Cronenberg fan.
I wouldn't call myself a fan of Cronenberg. No,
you have more of an appreciation for his work than I currently do. Let's just put it that way.
That is a technically true statement.
Yeah, I'll put it out there like that. What do you have for me for next week?
Okay, let me see. So you were complaining about me constantly doing movies in the 90s last time. So this time I picked something from the year 2005.
80s? Oh, I thought you were gonna go like 70s or something.
I might do that still. There's some of the older ones. Have you seen Thank You for Smoking?
I can't remember if I've actually seen the full movie, but I have seen plenty of scenes from it.
Okay, that's one of those movies that I put that in the same, like, the reason why I bring it up here. I put it in the same category as Reefer Madness, because in the same way that watching Reefer Madness, we're going, oh, this this shit still applies today. This may be an older movie.
Right. Okay, yeah.
The politics and propaganda that are being portrayed here are still very relevant to this day. Thank You for Smoking has the same thing going on.
Okay.
Aaron Eckert. Aaron Eckert? No.
That's Aaron Eckert.
Okay, Aaron Eckert.
Or is that Tom Jane?
No, it is Aaron Eckert.
It's Aaron Eckert. It's Aaron Eckert.
He plays a tobacco lobbyist, and one of the most mind-blowing parts of the movie is when he's got a 13-year-old son in this movie, and his 13-year-old son asks him to explain what the hell his job is, and as he's explaining his job to his kid, and basically like lays out the entire process of basically like massaging and contorting public opinion to your own whims, how that's done. It's kind of mind-blowing to just kind of see it mapped out like that, and then recognizing it as you're watching the nightly news nowadays.
Yep.
So enough. I think that's what, and it is a wildly entertaining movie on top of that, not the least of which is Rob Lowe's character. He guest stars in it for like 15 minutes and just blows it all up, of course, because he's Rob Lowe, and there's a few other recognizable faces in there. So on top of it being, I feel, still prescient today, it is also wildly entertaining.
Fair enough. All right, that's a good pitch for it.
Yep. All right, what do you got for me?
I'm giving you One Night at McCool's.
Okay, we're finally there. All right.
Liv Tyler, Matt Dillon, John Goodman.
Love me some John Goodman.
Oh, we all do. This is a movie. So the story is being told over and over and over and over again from different people's perspectives. So you're getting the same story and the same scene over and over again, but acted out in different perspectives.
They did an episode of Supernatural like this, didn't they?
I wasn't gonna bring it up. I remember that episode. That's one of the top tier episodes. That was the Trickster episodes, and that's one of the top episodes. This is an entire movie like that.
Okay, nice. All right.
And it's phenomenal. The way I am so excited. One, to watch this movie. One, the fact that you haven't seen this movie, and I feel like we're starting to get a little bit more on a flow because you were not liking my selections quite a bit at the beginning, but I feel like we're starting to get it.
Yeah, I've heard good things about this one too. You're not the first person to tell me to see this movie, so
But I am surprised. I am surprised you haven't seen this one though, given A, who's in it, B, the film style, and real quick, let's slide. I'm gonna slide over here and I'm gonna see who directed it. Oh yeah! Wow! Oh my God! I forgot how beautiful Liv Tyler is as a redhead. That is not fair.
No, it's not. I'm laughing at the fact that you forgot because I've seen the pictures before.
Okay, fair. Harold Zwart.
Zwart.
Yes.
I feel like I should know that name. Because that doesn't sound like a name you'd easily forget. What else has he done?
Some really bad stuff and some really good stuff.
Oh, that gives me more hope than anything else.
Okay, so let's go with One Night at McCool's. Mm-hmm. Agent Cody Banks. Yeah, I know. I'm not.
How are you feeling about this recommendation now, Brad?
I'm a little worried. The Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Will Smith's kid.
Never actually saw it, so
Neither
I don't
did
know
I.
that.
The 12th Man.
I also didn't hear anything about it, so I don't think anyone saw that movie.
The 12th Man, though.
The 12th Man.
Yes. That is one that I remember hearing about and I want to see. However, it's a foreign film. But speaking of the foreign films, Troll.
Oh, Troll was good. I liked Troll.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, it's kind of all over the place here because how do you get Hamilton, One Night at McCool's, Agent Cody Banks, The Pink Panther 2.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm a bit nervous, and I'm not gonna lie.
So this could really go any direction whatsoever.
This could go either direction. Yes.
Yeah.
However, again, One Night at McCool's, Liv Tyler, Matt Dillon, Mary Jo Smith, Michael Douglas, Paul Reiser, Reba McEntire, John Goodman, Richard Jenkins. Like, dude,
that's a pretty epic cast. Yeah.
Yeah, when you take a look at that cast, I have my high hopes, and I'm not gonna lose them.
All right.
All right, and that's gonna wrap it up. Thanks for joining in for episode 10. We are officially in double digits now.
We made it.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us for episode 10 of H.Y.S.T, Secondhand Lions, and eXistenZ. We'll see you next week.